while, closed up just a little bit again. Virtually, it looks like he's closed that margin in from 5 seconds when he made that mistake. It's now down to 3. He doesn't look like he's too damaged from that. Amazingly, after having a near monumental accident at Kesselchen, or on the run up to Kesselchen, he's somehow managed to get away with it, and he's actually reeling that Aston Martin up ahead of him in again.
And welcome back also to our viewers from Facebook and YouTube as well with the part 2. Now that the 8 hours of the broadcast are done, we just had a brief restart and then we are back again. And you can see from the onboard shot of that 888 what a scene it is. 3 seconds behind, you can see the headlights, you know, illuminating the walls and the trees up ahead, and you can just see him chasing all the way to the back section of this track, coming to Flanschgarten, and then all the way right up the hill, then to left and towards the Stefan Beloff SS, and then right from here the Fast Kings. You will be taking these flat out if you're brave, don't hit the curbs, and then through the Schwalbens the Swallow's Tail, as it's called, named after the track workers, said that it reminded them of a swallow's tail. And then into the mini carousel, then Galgenkopf, and once again onto the back straight. The gap now 2.8 seconds, and it's been an almighty charge, but I'm sure Joey will be a little bit gutted that he won't be in the draft range quite at this lap, because the run up the hill to the back straight, if you get the draft to here, that's basically 1 second, 1.5 seconds of time you just gain out of thin air by not doing anything risky or not driving any faster, really, just using the fact that you got less air resistance by being behind another car to your advantage.
Yeah, and don't forget that he's been here before. He's been at this distance on the previous occasion, so he'll know what it feels like. But he'll have that mistake looming large in his mind right now, because obviously he doesn't want to make it again. So 2.3 seconds as they come down into the Tiergarten for the 54th time of asking, or 55th indeed, even more than that. So yeah, they've been going round a lot, and they're close to getting lapped actually, not too far away. But that won't matter particularly to these guys. They're just concentrating on their own mini battle at the moment, and we'll really see who comes out on top of it. I'm expecting there will be a bit of a pit lane battle between these two. I don't think that the McLaren will be able to get through until the pit stops, if at all, because there's just no way he's going to be able to get through on the Nordschleife. Surely will he even be brave enough after his mistake last time around? I definitely wouldn't be making any kind of moves given the mistake made last lap around. I would be taking it nice and easy and just following him along, because there's still 16 hours to go and there's no need to make any heroics this early on.
Indeed, so well, there are a couple of places you can get by in the North Loop. First is the run from Flugplatz to Schwedenkreuz and Arenberg. It's a long draft straight, it's downhill, so the draft won't be as effective, but we know how fast this McLaren is on a straight line, so that's one of the advantages he can use. Maybe get past before Schwedenkreuz, just put it on the inside, and you know, get the move done before Arenberg breaking even. The other chance comes right after you go under the bridge from Arenberg all the way to Fuchsröhre at the foxhole. Before the foxhole or after the foxhole, before the break into the fast left kink into Adenauer Forest. That's a popular place because you can so easily get under someone's wing in that section, and then if you force it up the inside, the other guy has no chance but to back out of it. Then you get a couple of other chances, maybe into Kallenhardt if somebody makes a mistake, maybe into Bergwerk, and certainly the straight after Bergwerk into Mutkurve if you get alongside early enough. That's an uphill straight, so you're gonna really, you know, reap the benefits of added straight line speed, added oomph that the McLaren has down the straight line. But if you can't get the pass done here, then you really have to wait up until the back straight to get it done. So he's got a couple of opportunities.
Sorry, the battle for the lead is really on here, and out the pit lane comes Hemmingsen. He stayed into that car, but look at Simoncic now. He's all over the back of him, and the tires are going to be cold for that McLaren now up ahead. He looks like Simoncic is going to look to the inside. Is he going to go for it? He just gets his nose cut off there, and he's going to have to back off and try again, but my goodness me, this is a close battle from here as they come down towards the Dunlop hairpin for the 56th time. This is going to be absolutely fantastic now. Look at the two leaders, nose to tail after 8 hours of racing. We have got an absolutely fantastic battle on our hands now.
It is Martin Hemmingsen versus Jernej Simoncic in the battle for the race lead. And what could be better? Two guys, two drivers, two brilliant competitors, two gladiators battling it out in the arena of the gods. That is the Nürburgring, and they are heading to the green hell soon enough. Simoncic, he's got the chase on, he wants that lead, and Hemmingsen, all he has to do is to hold on, but that is easier said than done. Through the chicane here, and then once more they are gonna head left into the darkness, but it is illuminated by the sheer power that is glowing from these two guys, and I'm sure this is one of the more incredible battles that I've seen during my career of calling sim racing competitions. Half a second between those two guys even. And well, who is your money on, Hemmingsen or Simoncic? If you were a betting man, who would you bet your house, your wife, your dog, your second wife and your boyfriend on?
That's a strange combination of people, but I would go for Martin Hemmingsen, I think. I think he can hold on from Simoncic here. I know that Simoncic looks pretty racy right now, but you've got to remember that Simoncic is going to have the warm tyres here, and Hemmingsen's only just come out of the pit lane. He's got colder tyres, a full load of fuel, and he won't be quite used to that just yet, and Simoncic will be, because he's already had one lap. So I think that Hemmingsen can hold on here, especially because that McLaren has got some sensational straight line speed, and I just don't think that BMW is going to be able to tuck in enough. They can't imagine he's getting much slipstream benefit from that sleek McLaren up in front of him. So I think that Hemmingsen can hold on here, but I think they're going to run absolutely nose to tail for the foreseeable future.
Yep, also to inform you out of your pictures, Tamas Čech and Choi Vroilik have come into the pit lane, I do believe. No, that's false information, just showing red on my screen, but either way, those two guys are really close to each other as well. So we have a lead battle going on, and we have a battle for the sixth place going on as well. Let's stay in the lead battle for now, although if something develops in the battle for the sixth place, then we can switch to our side-by-side view, which we also have thanks to our wonderful broadcast technology here, and you can just see it right now. Choi Vroilik on the upper right hand corner of your screen, Drillers Esports Academy number 888. He right now is chasing the 123 Simco car with the all-Hungarian team, and meanwhile on the big screen we have the lead battle going on as well. So even a lot of things happening at the same time, as it tends to be. It's quiet for an hour, maybe for 2 hours, and then all of a sudden all of the rock and roll are going to scream. It's like a finale of a Kiss concert.
Yeah, it really has developed in the last few hours. I thought after 4 hours it finally calmed down just a little bit for a couple of hours, and I wasn't here for it, but it did look pretty energised while I was away earlier, and it definitely is energised right now. Just look at the imagery right here, the darkness of the Nürburgring and McLaren versus BMW, an absolutely classic battle seen throughout this race, and it's Simoncic versus Hemmingsen, two drivers at the top of their game right now as they come down into this right-hander and a long looping left coming up the hill now. We'll see if Simoncic can even get any slipstream and have a go, because this is where he was passed for the lead about this time 1 hour ago. So we'll see if he can return the favour and give the McLaren a taste of his own medicine here as they just come through the slightly sharper left-hand kink now and continue up the hill towards Kesselchen. He's closing, he's gaining, but is he going to be brave enough to stick his nose in up the inside at one of the fastest corners on the circuit? He looked like he visibly thought about it, but he's decided it wasn't worth it, and it was probably sensible that he did so.
Yep, he sent a fake in there. He showed his intention. He's like, look, I could go alongside you right now, but I'm gonna spare you. But you are being attacked right now. So Martin Hemmingsen, don't think about going anywhere. I am here and I intend to stay here for the entire duration of this next stint. And even better, I will intend to get past you. Now, the curious thing is Simoncic has Hemmingsen where he wants him. Is he gonna pass him, knowing that they are roughly of equal pace, or is he gonna tuck behind him and play the long con? Because technically he could save a little bit of fuel, he could just tuck in, knowing that the leader is right there, they're not gonna go anywhere. I actually wonder which it is going to be, because in a purely strategic sense, it doesn't make any sense for him to pass him right now, because he knows that he probably won't get away. But then again, he is a racing driver, and he is not any racing driver, he is Jerne darn Simoncic, and he will make a move if he can find the opportunity, and he is so fast that I think he's believing in his ability to actually, you know, outrun Martin Hemmingsen and create a gap big enough for him to have some caution come next pit stop. I just don't know, and I wonder what's gonna happen here. But here we see at the last portion of the track, Simoncic not quite as fast as Hemmingsen through these last corners, losing a little bit of ground, but nothing significant. Less than a second still is the gap.
It was a very good point that you make actually about the two cars. Is he going to go through? He's going to want to, obviously, but is he going to see that it's worth it? I don't know if it is, if I'm totally honest, and we do know that BMW on its undercut strategy, on its outlap, is very strong and stronger than the McLaren, so they have been able to jump people in the past, and we'll see if they can do the same today. But in the final part of the lap, excuse me, it looks like Simoncic has really kind of lost his way, and the gap has kind of gone out to 0.8 of a second, which is a pretty large margin in terms of these two's battle right now. Meanwhile, the battle has changed, and the lead of the sixth place battle has changed hands down the order, and there's all sorts of driver changes going on in the top five as well. But look at this now, let's all eyes on this lead battle in the dark. That BMW is gaining massively after having a poor last sector. It doesn't even matter because the slipstream effect here seems to be absolutely massive. The McLaren weaves every which way. Looks like Hemmingsen really doesn't want Simoncic to get through here, and why would he, as we go. Is he going to go for a late one? He's almost pushing the McLaren. He's looking every which way, but he can't do it up into the Tiergarten. We'll see if he can do it down into turn number one. But Simoncic did look like he actually wanted to get through there, not wanting to play the long game right now.
Not right now, no. He is showing intent. Of course, he could be just applying pressure to Hemmingsen, you know, just trying to get him off, get him on the guard, get him in the defense mode. And when you are in a defending mode, when you are in a battle mode, well, they are coming right to each other into turn number one and not gonna do it. So not gonna try to outbreak him here. But yeah, get someone in a battle mode and they're gonna be focusing on that. And they can't focus so much on the lap times. They might try as they will. Drivers will say that, yeah, I was just driving my own race, not minding the guy behind. Yeah, right. How can you really focus on driving your own race when you got the headlights of Jerne Simoncic illuminating your entire cockpit and occasionally the side of your car, and knowing that if you put one wheel wrong, you are gonna be overtaken in the eyes of the entire world that is watching?
Yeah, that would not be a particularly good thing to do, but these guys playing it pretty sensible right now. They're giving each other respectful room, although the exit off the hairpin there for Simoncic was absolutely extraordinary, and we'll see if he can do anything down into this chicane after the Schumacher S there. Nothing doing though into this left-hander. We'll see if he dives it in the right-hander, but not expecting him to, even though it does open itself out to some dive bombs sometimes. But nothing doing for Simoncic there, but a little bit wide for the BMW on that occasion. And now the gap just extends out a little bit, but Simoncic looking strong. Honestly, I can't tell if Simoncic is just looking faster than Hemmingsen, or if these guys are just really well matched because they're running nose to tail constantly. I can't actually tell which one of these guys is fastest.
Yeah, and well, time will tell that. what I can tell you is Simoncic is absolutely on the limit. You could see it when he was heading out of the Schumacher S and then coming into the next left right-hander. He was on opposite lock, exiting that left-hander. That goes to show you how hard he is pushing this car right now. He wants the lead, and I don't think there is any force in the world that can tell him to do against his own decision. At this point, the team manager is powerless. All of your teammates are powerless. You just best let the drivers battle and make their own decision. The sensible driver, the reasonable driver will tuck him behind, but the driver with the fire in their heart and a glow in their eyes and with a championship belt ready to be hoisted around their waist, they are going to be fighting for the lead, because that's what fighters do. They will fight and they will drive like challengers. Well, Simoncic still only 6/10 of a second behind, losing a bit of time in these fast corners. Because he's having to drive in the dirty air, remember folks. These cars, they don't only create draft, but they also create a wake, a dirty wake, a turbulence in the air, so to speak. And if you hit a bump, if you've been in an airplane and you hit a bump, you know exactly what that means. It's gonna disrupt the airflow of the car, and since these cars do have a fair bit of downforce, that will affect their performance. Not quite as much as, say, a Formula 1 car, but there is still an effect, and that means, in short, you are going to get understeer. You're gonna be pushing wide in the fast corners, but in the slow corners, it doesn't matter so much, and on a straight line, you will get the faster straight line speed. So it's a trade-off that is definitely favorable to the car behind, but that also means that in the fast corners even, it might not be that easy to follow Martin Hemmingsen. Well, okay, it's never easy to follow Martin Hemmingsen, but especially not in the fast corners.
No, I see exactly what you mean. You saw in the last sector on the last lap around, Simoncic simply could not hold in the same region that he was in this part of the lap. It's a very similar situation we've got right now. He was about this margin last lap around, but when we got into the final sections of the lap, basically from Hoeracht all the way down to the Kleiner Carousel right at the end of the lap, he could not get anywhere near the McLaren in front of him, because there's just so many corners, and you can't hold anywhere near to where you can at this section of the lap, where it's a little bit straight and you can get some of the slipstream along these little short shoots between the corners, as we just come through Exmuller right now and over the bridge, and now the right-hander. We're approaching the climb up the hill now, the left-hander, the long looping left-hander as I coined it, to Kesselchen in a moment, and the slipstream really is effective there. When you're going slightly uphill, it just slightly give the slipstream a bit of a benefit as well. It makes the following car a little bit faster, even normally, even more so than on a flat road, should I say. And yeah, here we go, up the hill once again. The BMW trying to hide behind the big frame of the McLaren right now as he gets through this left-hander now. I don't think he's going to be close enough or brave enough to go for a move here, though. It has to be said, as he just approaches, and I don't think he's going to do it.
No, he's not quite close enough. However, he's pretty close. Oh, actually, he might send it in there. No, he's not gonna go for it. He's just gonna show alongside and tell him that, you know, I'm right here, I'm right behind you, we're still going for it, but I am not gonna pass you here. I'm not crazy enough, I'm not stupid enough to do that, but you know that if you are still here in a couple of laps, I might just send it. And that makes Hemmingsen think, he's gonna think, okay, is he gonna actually go for a move there? If he's watching the mirrors, oh, Hemmingsen goes wide on Carousel. This is gonna allow Simoncic an opportunity. Is he through? Yes, he is. Simoncic right now has taken the lead, but Hemmingsen still is alongside. They're side by side as they head to the highest point of the track, the Hoeracht, and it is, oh, Hemmingsen taking that lead back. Unbelievable scenes here on the Nürburgring, on the GTR24 race. That is incredible. So Hemmingsen lost the lead momentarily in the carousel, but then he gained it back on the next straight, not giving in, and once again going a little bit wide there, but able to come back on the road. These guys are absolutely pushing it on the limit right now. There is nothing to be left on track. It is everything and all on the line here for the lead battle. This is now much more than about the race lead with 16 hours remaining on this event, a little bit under that. This is about the pride of these drivers, about the consistency of these drivers, about the skill of these drivers, and more importantly, it is mano a mano, man versus man. And all I can say to that is, may the best man win, because we are in for an absolute treat here, folks. Don't go anywhere.
How on earth did Hemmingsen hold on through that corner? He went round the outside, he went wide of the carousel for a start, and then he just held on right around the outside through the uphill left-hander. I didn't even know that was possible. I thought there was going to be a big crash between the two, but nothing, not even a piece of contact, and Simoncic has fallen away slightly, as he tends to through this final part of the lap, but we're about to see the effect of the slipstream as they just come through the Kleiner carousel now and into the final corner of the Nordschleife, or the final real corner, until we get onto the Dottinger Ho and into the Tiergarten. But it looks like Simoncic is nowhere near as close as he was last time. The gap is a second. Let's just see how big this slipstream effect is. The McLaren weaves around the straight, trying to get rid of that BMW. We know that the BMW is not as strong in a straight line, but in the slipstream it doesn't seem to matter, because he just closes up, and he closes up once again, but he's nowhere near close enough on this occasion. He's closing fast. He's got great speed at the moment. He could be playing the long game, but if he is, he's disguising it very well, because it looks like a full-on, all no holds barred fight between these two right now. Into the Tiergarten they go, and we'll see if Simoncic can get through, but it looks like Hemmingsen has got that little gap that he needed, just a little bit of breathing space here, and maybe this is all he needs to get away from Simoncic once and for all.
Indeed so, and well, 9/10 of a second is the gap right now. Simoncic is just losing a bit of time here. We can see how well he can chase here on the chippy section, right on the limit on the brakes, not running wide. I was thinking he was gonna run wide for sure, but no, he's right at the rugged edge, and he doesn't want to lose it now. And this is where it starts to hurt. You're gonna start to feel the tires coming in, and it's kind of like, you know, when you're running a long distance race, or you're in a skiing event or something, or in a bicycle race in a long distance, you are gonna start to get these effects wearing out, tires wearing out. You're gonna get exhausted a little bit. In the same way, you here start to feel the tires when the guy in front of you is gonna get away, and you start to ask yourself questions. Okay, how are his tires? How is he faring? How is he going a little bit faster than me? No, he cannot be faster than me. That is the defense mechanism of a racing driver. He cannot be faster than me. I must just try harder, push it on. That is not usually the right way to do it, I must say, because the fastest way usually is the cleanest way around the circuit. But you can see Simoncic just displaying a raw, pure display of driving skill and talent here. He's just forcing himself and willing himself to stay behind Hemmingsen, because the straights will be there, and those straights will be his saving grace, as they are coming up the lapped car as well. And I do wonder, are they going to play an effect on this battle? I hope so. I hope not.
I hope that this battle remains clean as it has done so far. Simoncic just biding his time for the very moment. This is absolutely phenomenal right now. Just these two guys just knocking absolute lumps out of each other, really just punishing each other here as they come onto the Hatzenbach for the first time in the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Just waiting to see what kind of a lap car that is. I thought it was a Porsche earlier on, but it can't be, because we would have caught the Porsche Cup car by now. So it has to be one of the GT3s, in my opinion. Just waiting to see which one of them it is.
It's a Corvette, I think. It has to be a Corvette, looking by the shape of the rear. In a moment's time, I'm probably gonna be proven wrong, because I just made a bold statement there. But, you know, wait and see. Of course, this is gonna give Hemmingsen a bit of draft into this straight, which may be his saving grace, but also dirtier in these fast corners. And you can see it here. They're catching up to him right now, and it's not one but two cars flying by you, and that can catch a lapped car off guard. But I hope his teammates are awake and telling him, hey, it's not just gonna be the one, it's gonna be two, if you look into your mirrors, and just let them by on one go, because they are in an amazing lead battle. And here we see one getting by, and here we see another getting by as well. Great job and nobody really lost any time. Simoncic had to lift a little bit on the exit, but he was not gonna pass through here anyway. Surely not. So through Adenauer first they go, and once again right behind each other, and just Simoncic, he was on full opposite lock in the middle of the fast left kink heading into that corner, just momentarily, you know, wondering is the back gonna step out. Little bit of an opposite lock, and once again back on the throttle. They are not giving anything up.
No, they're not. These guys are just pushing so hard right now. Don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this, as the McLaren there just looking a little bit loose on the rear and a little bit wide into that tight 90-degree left-hander there as well. We'll see, really down to the apex there from Simoncic. He really did angle that corner off, and the McLaren taking more sweeping lines to try and take away the cornering disadvantage he clearly has at the moment. The BMW does look very strong on the brakes, I have noticed, and he does really start to close up as the pressure on Hemmingsen right now must be absolutely unbelievable. I don't think he'll have experienced anything quite like this in his life, and the worst thing about it for him is that Simoncic will not be in for another 4 laps. We've still got a long way to go in this stint and a lot of battling to do, which is absolutely fantastic for us, but Hemmingsen will be praying that Simoncic makes a mistake and falls back just a little bit, because the pressure he must be under right now must be unparalleled.
Indeed, through X-Mühle they came, 10 to Bergwerk, the corner which has many different lines and only one of them is correct. You gotta break in late, then you're gonna take a really late apex to get a maximum launch onto this straight that isn't straight at all, but towards Mutkurve they come, and I'm gonna tell you, Simoncic is really close right now. He's 2/10 behind, he's 1/10 behind. Is he gonna send it alongside? Yes, he is. Oh, he's gonna try for a little gap, not quite there. He had to back out of it, but through Mutkurve they come nose to tail. This is incredible stuff. This is dogfighting at 250 kilometers per hour. An absolute amazing display of driving talent and skill, and Simoncic still has the presence of mind to send in a little feint in there. They're not just boxing, they're not just sending jabs and straights and left hooks and right uppercuts all the way through there. They're also putting little shoulder feints, you know, just head feints maybe, you know, sending a couple of fakes in there to really get the other guy off guard. But so far, nothing doing there. He had one chance. He wasn't able to pull it off. Hemmingsen was able to fight back. Let's see here. Will Simoncic get another? This has been an absolutely almighty fight between these two, and it's a pleasure and a joy to follow it.
It really is. What a race we are seeing right now. Just quite phenomenal between these two. We're going to see this McLaren just pull away through this section, the slightly trickier and twistier parts of the course, where it's just a little bit more difficult to follow the car up in front of you, and through they come once again. The McLaren actually not pulling away as much as he did on the previous laps, and Simoncic really is getting in the groove now. He was struggling earlier on, and Hemmingsen was really allowed to get away, but now Simoncic is all over the back of this McLaren, putting on an insurmountable amount of pressure onto the McLaren in front, and we'll see if he can take it as they come down now towards the jump and through the left-hander. We'll see what they can do, but my goodness, what a battle this is, and we'll see if Simoncic can finally make this move his. He looks like he's a bit closer on this occasion, and yeah, he might be able to do it into Tiergarten.
Indeed, and well, Tiergarten might be an interesting place to pass, especially as you're hurting your straight line speed if you pass through there, but it's gonna be the same for both guys. And into mini carousel. Oh, that was Hemmingsen going a little bit sideways there. That is a deceivingly slippery corner, and once again going a little bit sideways on the exit of mini carousel. So they're really pushing hard there, defending a little bit to Tiergarten, but able to Galgenkopf, sorry, and you know, he's, well, he is right behind Hemmingsen still, is Jelnej Simoncic, and I got my corners mixed up there earlier. Of course, Tiergarten might be an overtaking chance, Galgenkopf not so much. Galgenkopf at the start of the straight, Tiergarten of course at the end of it, and in the middle they come through a left kink, and that is Antonios Buche under the bridge. But here we go, Simoncic gonna get alongside here. Surely he's gonna get it done this time.
Yeah, you'd have to think so. He's got much more overspeed, much more closer as he came onto the Stottinger Hoe, and he finally has been able to make that move stick. Not without... Oh my goodness me, he's actually come back at him. The McLaren, how on earth has Henningsen managed to do that? I didn't even know that was possible. That's unbelievable. Oh my goodness me, Martin Hemmingsen is putting on a defensive masterclass right now, and Jernej Simoncic must think he's trying to get through a brick wall right now, because it's about as useful. This McLaren is so wide, and the BMW has absolutely no way through. I thought that move was sealed. I thought Simoncic was definitely through, and then no, the McLaren just swoops around the outside, comes back at him in the Tiergarten, and through he goes again. Hemmingsen leads another lap, and Simoncic is left wondering, where on earth do I make this move?
Well, Martin Hemmingsen, take a bow, because that was unbelievable defending from him. He was already on the ropes. He was about to get punched out, and then somehow he found the presence of mind to land that counter onto the head of Jernej Simoncic, and Simoncic once again is looking at his taillights and probably wondering what on earth just happened. That was some great stuff, and now Simoncic, he is surely in a battle mode, both of these drivers in a battle mode, but now he's wondering just what do I have to do to get past this guy. It's no longer about holding back, it's no longer about holding behind. This is now a battle, and it's gonna be a battle all the way to the bitter end.
Yeah, it is. These guys have been battling for the whole of this stint so far. You just wonder if Simoncic would be better off trying not to make these moves and just trying to hold back and maybe get them on an outlap later on in this race, but it doesn't seem that way. He's trying to get through immediately, and he wants through now. Maybe he would be able to pull away from the McLaren if Simoncic could get through, but the fact is he just can't right now, and Hemmingsen is doing a fantastic job at holding Simoncic back. He's nearly 2.5 hours into a long and arduous stint in this race, and this is absolutely phenomenal defending from Hemmingsen. Some of the best I've ever seen, and one of the best battles at the Nürburgring I think I've seen for a very long time.
I can't remember a better one. Honestly, I can't remember when is the last time we've seen such a close battle between the race leaders, no less, at the Nürburgring and getting going for so long. Usually it's about the chase, and then you get the pass, and then you're gone. Not this time. Maybe the other guy is able to follow for a couple of laps, but this is such a seesaw battle. It's back and forth all the time between seemingly equally matched drivers in wholly different machinery. BMW versus the McLaren, and still they are bringing us this wonderful action all the way through. This is the stuff where you just can't blink. You're just, setting up, you're talking through the troubles, and you're driving through the middle sections, not making mistake, focusing on each and every corner, and you know where the battle positions are. You know where the positions are, where you are able to make that move and make it count here. And remember, once again, folks, these cars reach speeds almost to 300 kilometers per hour at the end of Stottinger Hoe straight, 280 km an hour. They are unbelievably fast cars. They're able to drive a 25-kilometer lap in 8 minutes, which is nigh unbelievable. So there are no slow cars at all. Just controlling them, just driving these lap times they are doing is taking so much out of them. It's gonna take years of preparation, hundreds if not thousands of laps just to get at their level, and then not only driving the Nürburgring Nordschleife, but driving it at pitch black in the night, not able to see your usual positions. And then you have to also have the presence of mind to think about the battle. Think strategically, think about your next move. Where are you going to pass him? How is he going to defend? What is his move going to be as they head towards each other once again? It's not just a battle, it's not a regular battle. It's an unbelievable battle, and it's a testament to both of their ability that there hasn't been significant contact yet, and it's still staying this close. Feast your eyes. You are in for an absolute treat, and it's still gonna go for a while. I know I said that a couple of times, this is an absolute treat, but maybe what I explained will help you understand just why it is so great as they head towards Bergwerk through the Lauda links and once again into the upper straight.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a squeaky moment maybe. The BMW really close to the McLaren now, and he's looking to the outside already. He's can't get through there, of course. He's going to have to wait just a little bit of time. He's already looking to the outside through this kink now. Can he get his nose down there? He's looking every which way, and the McLaren pulls off there. It looks like he might have just let him through, but no. He's looking to hold it round the outside for this part. There's a bit of contact between them, side by side into Kesselchen. Oh my goodness me, and Hemmingsen has held on once again. Oh dearie me, Simoncic must be getting absolutely furious with the McLaren in front of him. Nothing wrong from Hemmingsen, by the way. He's doing a fantastic job of defending, and it's all legal as well. Nothing wrong with that at all, but Simoncic will be getting so frustrated. He's got to keep control of his emotions here, because it can get on top of you, especially in such a heated battle like this.
Absolutely so, and still Hemmingsen hasn't put a wheel wrong here. He's just been defending so well, so brilliantly. They came into contact once again. A couple of laps ago we mentioned about how Simoncic hasn't really sent it alongside at Mutkurve yet, and no wonder. People call it the bravery bend, and there's a good reason they call it that. The Simoncic getting a little bit sideways, losing a bit of time, and just imagine the sheer brimstone and hellfire those tires must be going through right now. Even that is, I mean, those poor rubbers, they've been tortured side by side at absolute limit for the entire duration of this stint, and still putting lap times under 8:10. These guys are battling, and they're still faster than anyone else out there on the track.
Yeah, they are literally pulling the gap to Paul Holt in third position. That gap is now 300 seconds, which is 5 minutes back to Paul Holt. These two are in an absolute class of their own. You've got third and fourth, they're kind of all on their own as well. They're separated by 10 seconds, by the way. That might be a battle to watch if this one peters out, which it doesn't look like it's going to, by the way. These two just going at it, knocking lumps out of each other, as I said earlier. And it's just so great to see these two different cars making their lap times in two different ways, and two different drivers battling so closely with such similar lap times. Although saying that, Hemmingsen looks like he's got a bit of a march on Simoncic through this through the Stefan Beloff S a couple of moments ago, and now into the Kleine Carousel right now. And now they're going to be out onto the Dottingerhoe in just a moment as they come through Goudenkop now. And now we're going to see the slipstreaming power and see if that McLaren can hold on. I would expect Hemmingsen to be able to hold on because of his heroics into the Tiergarten last time. You really can't bet against him. His defending skills have been absolutely immaculate so far as he just defends towards the left-hand side. As we look at it now, he's trying every which way. He wants the inside line for that final right-hander, of course, of the Tiergarten. He's shown that he can go round the outside through this gentle left-hander, and then a slightly more sharp one second off. Here comes Simoncic right on the back. He's looking to get past, but he's not quite as close as he was last time. He's not going to dive it into the Tiergarten. Maybe he can have a go into turn number one, but why would you want to? Hemmingsen has been so strong so far that it's just going to be a remarkable tall order to try and get through here.
Especially as you have to go all the way to round the outside into turn number 2 at the exit. So you have to hold it off very well. We're gonna see if Simoncic is gonna make a move into turn number 1. I don't think he's close enough. He's gonna look there on the inside, but he's not close enough on the braking. And once again, Hemmingsen is just gonna pull a little bit of a gap to him. But here you see how much time is gained through that back straight, because Simoncic once again right on him as they come to the GP section. And I can just imagine a full crowd roaring, cheering on these two gladiators. And I don't think a single eye is separated from this battle. Everyone is watching these two go at it, and they are dying to see the conclusion of this one. 0.3 of a second between these two as they head on towards the hairpin. And still, unbelievably enough, neither of them have made the terminal mistake. They have not really made significant enough of a mistake to, you know, drop the other guy or cause a separation, cause a gap. And you can see here actually Hemmingsen is able to use a little bit more of the curbs than Simoncic is in that BMW. So Simoncic still has a bit of leeway, whether it's a difference between the two cars the McLaren has historically been good at taking the curbs, or difference between the approach of the two drivers, I don't know. But either or, you can just see the differences here as we watch both of them go on. As once again, Simoncic he was just sending a fake to the inside into the chicane, not even attempting a move, just going a little bit alongside, having a look. And this is what we mean when we say having a look, and constantly having those looks. And Hemmingsen, well, I don't know what material his mind is made out of, but it has to be some sort of unobtainium, because nobody has nerve of steel like that.
Yeah, he's been absolutely phenomenal right now. Make sure you savour this at home, because you may never see a battle quite like this. I'll tell you, these two drivers are at the top of their powers right now. They are just phenomenal. They may not be against each other again for the rest of this race. Two other drivers for these cars might be, but these two probably won't be against each other again. If these two strategies converge again, then it would be a modern miracle. So make sure you savour this at home. This is absolutely like you've never seen before, because I mean, I really haven't ever seen anything quite like this. McLaren versus BMW here as they come now down the hill towards Arenberg at the bottom of the hill in the hairpin, the right-hander, excuse me. We've got this left-hander to deal with first. Simoncic approaches once again. The power of that slipstream really showing itself. Oh, he's looking to the inside there, but he didn't quite go for it. Would be a little bit of a rash move to be making, but I've noticed in the last couple of laps, Hemmingsen is overshooting Adenauer Forest a little bit as he comes through the right-hander. So we're going to go over the top of the hill at the left. Simoncic feints it down the inside. He doesn't go for it though. That would have been a very brave manoeuvre. And this is just all about unnerving Hemmingsen now, because he would never make a move up there normally. And he's just trying everything, every trick in the book to try and make Hemmingsen make a mistake. And now Simoncic goes to the outside. This would be spectacular if he can do it. The fast left-hander here, can he go for it? Oh, he's going to try it. He's on the grass. He's sliding. Oh, he nearly lost the car as well. Goodness me, what a battle. But Simoncic has just nearly lost the car there. And that is the kind of danger, and that's the kind of risks he's having to take to try and get through here. And this is just showing how hard he is working right now.
Indeed, so, oh my dear me, that was unbelievable. Through Metzesfeld, side by side, he was on the outside, he was putting all on the line and 10 some, and just catching a bit of grass, and normally that's a death sentence. That's straight to the execution with you if you catch grass there, but somehow Simoncic, he's operating on another level. He's in a realm beyond our own comprehensible world, because he senses everything is just sharpened so sharp, so fast, so precise that he was able to save it, and he was able to hold on to it without even thinking about it. He's just, you know, reacting, and he's anticipating everything. He is way ahead of his game, but so is Martin Hemmingsen, still able to hold ahead. You are watching these two elevate to a level which we are still going to be talking about with generations to come, when people are pointing to the greatest sim racing battles that they have ever seen, and what makes this sport so great, what makes this sport the hype. This is what we are talking about. Alongside he comes once again.
Here we go, side by side into Kesselchen. We've seen this before, but Simoncic has got it done, finally! After so many laps of trying and so many attempts, finally Hemmingsen has had to give up the ghost. And now Simoncic is into the lead. Can he pull away? Because he's been looking so threatening, and Hemmingsen has not had a chance to pull away yet. Simoncic is into his rhythm. He is absolutely at one with this car right now, and as we come into the carousel, he has finally been able to make that move stick. I was beginning to doubt whether he was ever going to get through. I was beginning to think, is he just going to save fuel, save his tyres and save his car in behind here? But he never gave up, and he continued to try, and finally the BMW is ahead of the McLaren. But if Simoncic doesn't get far enough away through this section, then the McLaren is going to be right back past him in the Dottinger Hoe, because we know how strong this British car is on that straight.
Indeed, so the German power versus the British engineering, that is the battle out here. It is a battle of nations. It is a battle of two drivers, Jedrzej Simoncic and Martin Hemmingsen. It is a battle as well between BMW and McLaren. And it is also a battle of two teams who have been fighting on all throughout this stint. Burst Esport with Jelnej Simoncic, and he is Slovenian, and he is fighting against the Dane here. He had just gotten past the Dane. Can he hold on? Can he keep Martin Hemmingsen in the 777 car behind him? That is the question right now. So, well, we watched that, and now we hold on to the straight. And now we just wait and see what will happen between these two. Regan Drillers Esports and Martin Hemmingsen. As said so many times, he put in an amazingly stout defense, but now he had to finally give up the ghost to this man. He is Jelnej Simoncic, and he is about 6/10 ahead, heading onto the Doppinger. My question is, will that be enough?
I don't think that's going to be anywhere near enough, I'm afraid, because even Simoncic in that BMW could get through at this distance, or he could at least get close, and we know how good that McLaren is. Just look how sleek it is compared to that BMW. It's able to hide behind that big German frame so much better than Simoncic could earlier. Look at the speed of that McLaren now. He closes in. Simoncic just pulls to the left-hand side to try and negate some of that slipstream, and actually the McLaren's not closing as quickly as I was expecting here. Is he going to duck out into the Tiergarten? He's getting closer, but he's not able to make this move right now. Is he going to be able to do it under the brakes? It would be brave, and this is surprising. Simoncic has really been able to turn it up to 11 there, and he's been able to hold on, bouncing it across the curbs there for the McLaren. He's so close. As he comes through this again, he's basically pushing Simoncic through the final corner now, and now over the line. Simoncic is going to have one more lap until he's into the pit lane. We've got traffic up in front, but look at this McLaren as they shift through the gears. He's into the slipstream. Is he going to make this dive down the inside? Simoncic defends early. He's going to try and hold on now, but it's Hemmingsen. What a late defense. Oh, he's broken so late there, and he's down the inside for turn number 2. They're side by side out the corner, and Simoncic is going to try and hold it, but he can't. Oh, after all that work he's done, he's lost it instantly, and now he's going to have to try down the inside into turn 3. He can't do it. And now the McLaren's back in front again. After all that hard work from Simoncic, he's back behind and he's got to start all over again.
That was an amazing late braking move to the outside, and Simoncic did what Hemmingsen didn't have to do once. Did you notice that? Simoncic had to brake down to the inside, whereas he had to defend his line, whereas Hemmingsen was able to, just hold his own line. Once again, Simoncic is looking, he wants that lead back, he doesn't want to give up just yet, but Hemmingsen is saying no. And now that he's ahead, I wonder how frustrated Jelnej Simoncic is getting. He had to fight all the stint to get past him just once, and now once again he is following the taillights of that McLaren. So it's gonna be, well, round number whatever. I think we are over the 12 rounds. That is the maximum limit of a normal boxing match, but this is no boxing match. This is racing, and it's gonna keep going and going and going until the clock finally says enough, until the checkered flag flies. And whoa, both of them right at the limit. Tires must be screaming. Remember, it is, as you said, Ewan, it is the last lap for Jelnej Simoncic before he comes into the pit lane. So his tires, they must be absolutely gone at this point. The car is at its lightest. Will he still get a chance on Hemmingsen or not? We'll have to wait and see, but certainly the gap hasn't been at once over 1 second.
By the way, we've still got 15 hours to go of this, by the way, so make sure you don't go anywhere. This is going to be an absolutely remarkable race. It already has been. It will go down in the history books for sure, because this is McLaren versus BMW at its very best. And we keep commenting, Simoncic is going to be into the pit lane at the end of this lap, so we'll have to watch out for that. Is he just going to hold back now because he knows that he's going to have the outlap of his life if he wants to overtake Hemmingsen, and Hemmingsen likewise is going to have the in-lap of his life. But I'd say, honestly, I'd rather have to do the outlap of my life, because you'll have new tyres to push it on, and those new tyres just give you the extra piece of confidence that you really need to eke out the advantage that Simoncic is looking for, as Hemmingsen just goes a little bit wide through Arenberg there, but all is fine. Yeah, I would say that Simoncic is in a good place here because he's going to have his most important lap of his race so far on new tyres.
Indeed, so, and Simoncic, well, it's a difficult situation for Hemmingsen because he has to maintain his pace, stay consistent now that he's had a car behind him all throughout the stint. But at the same time, he's wondering, how is Simoncic doing? How fast is he? Where am I going to be once we come into the pit lane next time by? And I'm fully expecting them to do a driver change here as well. Hemmingsen and Simoncic both have been in the car for quite a while now. They surely are going to change drivers after a battle like this, unless the drivers themselves are like, you know what, nah, we'll keep it going. We want an end to this battle, but there is still 15.5 hours remaining on this race, so we might see fresh drivers pick up the baton and pick up the battle. Wouldn't that be quite something? The cars remain the same, only changes are between the seat and the wheel. That is going to be the drivers. Oh, Simoncic getting mighty close indeed at that right, left, and 10. Once again, it's gonna be battle zone.
It really is. This is going to be absolutely fantastic as we come through Exmüller now and into the right-hander. They're going to have a run up to Bergwerk, and then they are going to have that turn at Kesselchen right at the top of the hill, the left-hander, where Simoncic last lap got through for the very first time he has ever been able to get past that McLaren. He managed it this time last lap. Will he be able to do the same again? Well, we're about to find out. Round whatever it is now, as the McLaren just leads them on to this straight. The BMW looking strong, but not looking quite as close as he was on the previous occasion. And given that he's got the pit stop this time around, he might wake back. But Simoncic does not understand the word no. He's going to go to the outside. There's no space there. He's nearly on the grass, but he's going to wait for now. I thought he was really going to try that, but he would have to have two wheels on the grass, and it is way too early for that kind of manoeuvre.
Yeah, I don't think if it's ever, appropriate for two wheels on the grass there, it is absolutely sketchy. This is already beyond sketchy, but that would be just taking an unnecessary risk at this point. He was looking to the outside, trying to see if he can eke out the inside line to Mutkurve, but there was just, Hemmingsen saying, nope, I'm not gonna give you that, and why would I? This is where Hemmingsen went wide earlier on, the Caracciola Carousel, taking it nice and smooth this time by, and this is where we expect Simoncic to lose just a little bit of time in the last section due to these fast corners, due to the dirty air, driving behind Martin Hemmingsen's McLaren. We'll have to wait and see if he is indeed managing to stay close enough so he can have one last gasp at Martin Hemmingsen before they come into the pit lane. But so far it's looking like Simoncic, well, he's gradually losing a little bit of ground. He's now 6/10 behind, but he's holding on somewhat to the rear of that car, and he doesn't want to let it away. It might be the last lap of his stint, but he surely wants to get that move done.
Yeah, we're just going to wait and see if Simoncic actually does get out of that car, and we'll be very interested to see, but I would keep him in it, and he's enthralled in this battle. I have no doubt about that. We're enthralled in it, we're invested in it right now, and I'm sure he is as well. He really wants to get the better of Hemmingsen. I expect Hemmingsen to stay in for one more stint here to make it 4 hours and make it nice and rounded up before Jan Granqvist gets back into that car at around midnight, I think, European time. So we'll see about if that one indeed comes true, or indeed Hemmingsen gets out of that car early, and we'll have to wait and see if Simoncic does the same. But this battle is just unbelievable right now. We'll see what happens down into the Tiergarten. It's hard to imagine anything other than an all-out brawl happening. Hopefully it stays nice and clean. It's been absolutely phenomenal. It's been so clean and so good for the last lap. For the last 7 laps indeed. Oh, and wide for the McLaren. He's gone even defensive already, even to the final corner. This is a glaring opportunity for Simoncic. He cannot miss this, surely. He's going to lose a bit more time in this final corner with the dirty air, but he's going to really close on the McLaren now. He's going to have a big slipstream effect as they pull to the right-hand side of the road, and now the McLaren weaves back towards the middle just a little bit. Here comes Simoncic. He's got that slipstream. He's already right under the rear wing of that McLaren very early on into the straight. This is where he was when he made that move a few laps ago. but Henningsen was able to get through round the outside, and here we go again. Simoncic pulls to the inside, under the bridge, side by side, and they're still going at it. Henningsen's going to try and do the same as he did a couple of laps ago. They go side by side into the Tiergarten, and Henningsen has done the unthinkable for the second time in this race. Here we go. Simoncic is going to pull right now. He's had enough of this, and he's going to want new tyres and some fuel. And here we go. Oh, into the pit lane for the McLaren as well. The change of the strategy there from the Drillers Esport team, and we're going to have a battle in the pit lane.
Wow, you can't miss this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Here they come. It's gonna be a battle of the mechanics, battle of the drivers. Can they both stop in time? Yes, they can. So now Jelena Simoncic, Martin Hemmingsen, are they gonna both stay in the car? That's the first question. And second question is, who is gonna come out of the pit lane first?
That is the massive question unanswered in this one. I really cannot wait to see as they pull away who is going to be able to pull away first. That is the real question here. I've got absolutely no idea for now. They came in nose to tail. They're probably going to go out nose to tail. But who is going to go out in front? Don't forget that McLaren is going to have a little bit of fuel left because they have a fuel for one more lap. So they may be able to short fuel by one lap, which is fairly, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's massive around the Nordschleife. You think how much fuel you would use around a lap. So yeah, exactly. So that is the amount of fuel that they will not have to take here in the Driller's car, and he's off. So where is Simoncic going to go off? And he is not. He's still sat there, and that's a big margin now in terms of this race. Simoncic is finally rolling. It's Hemmingsen versus Simoncic once again, but the gap is a lot bigger.
Yes, it is, and at this point in time, I think it is time to take a little bit of a breather. Go refresh your drinks, go do whatever you need to do, go grab a few blinks of an eye, because we'll be right back, and we'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors. Stay tuned.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. Their 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40 by 40mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80 by 40mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160 by 40mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Communication. It started out as a conversation between two people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
Welcome back to the GTR 24 hours of the Nürburgring. And well, if you're just joining us, you have missed out on a fair bit. Nothing more, nothing less than the most amazing sim racing battle I have ever laid my eyes on. It has been two teams and their two gladiators, Martin Hemmingsen and Jelena Simoncic, battling it head to head, toe to toe, all throughout the last stint. And guess what, guys? We are in for a round 2 real soon. But meanwhile, we must also not forget that there are other teams, there are other drivers in this event as well. Currently in the lead with 15 hours remaining, 9 hours in, it is the 777 Regen Drillers Esports, who have been in and out of the lead for quite some time in this race. And last pit stop, they came in 1 hour early, 1 lap early rather, to equalize their strategy with the second place number 94 Burst Esport. So they are on an equal fuel strategy right now, and as a result of that, they were able to pull themselves a nice 6-second advantage. Due to that quite a clever bit of maneuvering. Burst Esport, as I said, in the second place, Jelena Simoncic, the man, the myth, the legend, the Slovenian Superman, has been in the car for a couple of hours. He is still in there. And in P number 3, it is currently car number 33, who we haven't talked about very much, but it's also a battle developing for that position as well. The number 33 Fair Racing team with Paul Holt behind the wheel of that car, ahead of the 999, who were in the 3rd place for a fair bit of time, now have been relegated to 4th, and that is the Abstineo Force Polonia and their current driver, who is, as I'm checking, James Dziuba. And 5th place, finally running out the top 5, the number 71. They are being driven by Tiziano Brioni, and that means the team is Musto GD Esports, the famed Italian team with 4 Italian drivers. How can they fare as they are very fast in any GD car? They were 3rd in qualifying, remember, so they certainly have the pace. And there is also another class, the SP7 class. They unfortunately have only 1 runner left, but they are still going, and they are still going strong. And that is, of course, the number 911 effort. And they are just heading towards, well, what will be still 24 hours of racing. The number 911 HM engineering car, currently being driven by Peo Pive behind the wheel of that one. But even 6 seconds between our leading duo. Maybe time to catch our breath a little bit on that one, but I mean, Martin Hemmingsen, the presence of mind to defend his position all throughout the last stint, as well as the presence of mind for his team to make that call and create the gap to avoid losing any more time.
Yeah, there's just phenomenal racing between them. The respect between those two is just absolutely phenomenal, I can tell you. It's just an unbelievable battle. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it. I'm sure their teams had their heart in their mouths throughout the whole ordeal, because it was a really sketchy thing for the whole time, really. Going side by side into the Tiergarten, and then Hemmingsen holding it round the outside through there. It was quite unbelievable, but he managed to do it twice, and he's managed to hold on to his position. Only relinquished his lead once, but he never, well, actually, once he didn't lead the lap, but he led 6 of those 7 laps when Simoncic had been hounding him for the whole time. But as you can see, these guys are so well matched. They came out, the gap was 7 seconds, it's down to 6.4, but the gap really isn't changing that much. Simoncic hasn't got that much of an advantage on Hemmingsen, you have to say. And yeah, Hemmingsen's doing very well at the moment, and yeah, it's just a really a moment to catch our breath, really, because I'm totally out of it after all that. That was just crazy.
That was indeed insane. So just talking about that strategy call, they will be getting Martin Hemmingsen now in the clear air with the idea. He gained, by the way, last time by on the pit stop 5.7 seconds was the raw time he gained, and he's now 6.5 seconds ahead. The idea there is to get him into clear air, get him to focus on getting those lap times and get a bit of a cushion against Jelena Simoncic, because they were battling all throughout the last stint. And it is such a clever move from a team. But in terms of a fan perspective, normally, you know, interrupting such a great battle will be met with cheers and boos from all over the crowd. But this time it is just such a masterstroke of planning and such a crucial part of endurance racing that all I can say is take my hats off. But remember, this was just round 1 between Martin Hemmingsen and Jelena Simoncic. I think there will be many more rounds to go between those two teams and those two drivers as we head into the last 15 hours of this event. And you know what? Normally at this hour it's getting close to midnight in Finland, just 3 minutes to midnight. Not quite into an Iron Maiden song yet, but you know, I'm not tired at all. My eyes are wide open and I'm full of adrenaline, and right now what I want to do, honestly, after seeing that, I want to run through a wall.
Yeah, it's just a remarkable chain of events there, and quite a remarkable battle between those two. But I'm hoping we're going to see a similar thing in a moment between Paul Holt and James Zuber, because they are closing down two drivers who are driving for the first time right now in their first stints at the moment. They're pitting on this lap. This is their 7th lap of their first stint, but they've had to adjust to the dark conditions in their very first lap. The gap is down to 3 seconds between the two of them. We could see a battle between them. And James Zuber was in front going into the pit stops, or the driver driving that 999, but the 33 managed to jump the 999 in the pit stops, and now they're still 3 seconds out in front. So maybe there will be a battle, but as I said, the pit stops are upon these guys, so we'll see if there's going to be one on the exit, much like what we saw with the leaders there as well.
Yeah, that's one of those things that are going to have an effect. Definitely so. Definitely so. Battle of the pit stops, battle of stopping in time. James Zuber, he is in the pit lane, I think, right now. So he's one of those guys who lost a bit of time during his stop, but still is quite close. So we got a battle for P number 1, and we got a battle brewing for P number 3 as well. And let's not forget the battle for P number 6 as well. That is a very real thing that is developing at this point in time. Joy Vroilik, he too is one of those guys who have been in the forefront in terms of battles, and he's been driving well, 6 seconds behind the car ahead. That is the 1-2-3 of Patrick Bakrahti. But I'm watching right now on board with Jelena Simoncic, and he's dealing with some traffic here, dealing with that 1-2-3 I just mentioned, and dealing with another lapped car as well. And he is looking mighty loose indeed, and he's lost a bit of time, not only due to the traffic, but due to the fact that he's, I think, a little bit in what we call over-conditioning at this moment in time, you know. He's maybe trying a little bit too hard, a little bit perplexed, a little bit dazed and confused by that gap that suddenly formed, even though his team must have mentioned it. And now he's just trying his best to chase the void, so to speak. It is like chasing rainbows here when you are just staring into the void, and you know that somewhere in that darkness, at the end of the long pitch black tunnel, there will be light, and that light will be the race leader and the return of the battle and the chance for glory. And it is not glory, not only glory these guys are fighting for, remember, these guys are fighting for 1,000 euros as well, courtesy of our sponsor Rio Toro.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot on the line here. The gap went out to 7.5 seconds, but it's immediately gone back in. Hemmingsen set his personal best first sector on that previous lap, so that was quite a remarkable chain of events. 4 minutes 16.8 there in that first sector, and now the gap, but Simoncic actually invalidated here, so he's going to have to be careful on those old cut track warnings. That car, the Burst Esport car, has already been into the pit lane. twice ought to serve stop-go penalties, so they're not going to want to serve a third, and that's how they found themselves so far behind in the first place. But I'm glad they found themselves so far behind, because if they didn't, they'd be a minute up the road now. We wouldn't have just witnessed that, and thankfully we have just witnessed one of the best battles you're likely to see, and we may even see it resurface here. We've got a long way to go in this stint, don't forget. They're just coming to the end of their first lap, their very first lap, and there's still 6 to go, and that's 6 laps for Simkic to try and chase down his rival.
Indeed so, and he has managed to claw back a little bit over the course of the lap after losing time in the first sector due to those lapped cars. He had to follow behind for a couple of fast corners, and every one of those he lost a bit of time because he wasn't able to drive his own line. He had to be a little bit conservative. You can't just ram someone off the track. I mean, this is not iRacing Rookie. This is R-Factor 2 and this is endurance racing. So, you know, he's gonna have to fight all the way through here. And just following these guys along gives us a bit of a chance to breathe and a bit of a chance to talk about not only what this battle is about and not only the commitment of these drivers. Actually, let's talk about the commitment of these drivers. Because a 24-hour event, it is a lot more than swapping places for 24 hours and driving 3-4 hour stints at a time and, you know, being awake for an unhealthy amount of time. Of course, some drivers may be able to sleep, but who can sleep after witnessing that, honestly? But it is also about the preparation and the mindset going into it. You have to be ready going into it. You have to be absolutely certain about the setup, which is always a compromise because no driver is the same. No two drivers will like the exactly same setup. They will always have to make a compromise, and it is always those factors that must be taken into consideration. All the preparation, all the practice they have done, all the time and the effort put into it for just one dream, and that one dream is conquering the green hell, and it is only righteous, and it is only, you know, proper to have a battle like this for the race win.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't forget about the commitment that these guys have to sim racing to be able to do something like this. If you've never actually competed in a long endurance race or a 24-hour race, you don't know how much commitment this takes to actually practice for the race, and then actually doing the race is the thing that takes up the most time. But particularly practicing, it takes up quite a lot of time, a lot of commitment, and a lot of effort from everyone. And you're seeing who's put the most effort in right now. It's showing itself. 7.5 seconds for the race lead, but look at the gap behind these guys. 6.5 minutes. Sorry, is that 7.5 minutes? No, it's 6.5. My maths was right the first time. 6.5 minutes back to Paul Holt in the next car. That is just it's 5.5. Well, whatever it is, it's a long gap to the cars in third position, and you know, it's just showing that the top two are in a class of their own at the moment.
It's getting late in Europe as well. Don't worry about that. If I was your math teacher, I would have given you an F for that, or maybe a D for effort. You know, just letting you pass the class barely because you eventually got the right answer. Well, it's actually hard to concentrate on speaking and, you know, doing maths at the same time. Still, the point is correct. They have been able to open up the gap. I think that's what you were trying to say. Open up the gap to Paul Holt all through this time. Open up the gap between the duo and the third place. So despite the fact that they're battling, hindering each other's progress, driving side by side through these corners, the pace has been absolutely phenomenal all throughout the race, and I expect it to only continue equally phenomenal as we move on. By the way, Martin Hemmingsen in that 777, we talked about he has to run away now. He just put in some purple on the board. 8:05.654 in the darkness of the night.
Wow, that is unbelievable on this first flying lap out there. But amazingly, just look at it's the fastest lap of the race. It's phenomenal and everything, but look how much time he's actually put into Simicic. I don't know, a rough 300ths of a second. These guys are so well matched right now. They are literally they would be nose to tail. They're literally side by side everywhere in terms of their lap times, and it is just phenomenal. You're seeing two of the best sim racers at at the top of their game right now, and they are pushing so hard. They're only 5 seconds off their qualifying times, which is remarkable when you think about the length of this circuit. That qualifying time, let me just work out where that would have got them in qualifying. This is the race in the darkness, and the qualifying was in the most dreamy conditions you could want in the daytime, and that lap time would have still got them just outside the top 10 in 11th position. The pace that these two have is absolutely unbelievable and unparalleled by anybody else in this field.
And remember, these are not even their supposed top guns in terms of who was taking the qualifying, because usually we see the fastest driver of the team taking the qualifying. Well, that was for Burst Esport 94, that was Jesper Pedersen. Even though we can't say Simoncic is, a bad driver at all, no. But for those who watched the qualifying yesterday, Jesper Pedersen was 300ths of a second faster than Henry Sinek in that Regan Driller's esport car. So we were anticipating a close battle already early on, but at this point in time I don't think anyone could have dreamed of this happening. I don't think anyone could have dreamed what we are witnessing here. And remember, when you are practicing for sim racing, even when you are putting all those practice hours in, you're fiddling with the setup, you're driving, you're trying your hardest, your best to get going, to improve as a driver. You're dreaming of that one chance to shine, for your name to be written in the stars and to be written with a cat-sized font in front of a newspaper, in front of a motorsport paper, to be featured in a highlight video. Come on, everyone has at least once dreamed of a highlight video about themselves. How would their tribute look like? Well, these two guys are right now writing the script for their own very story, and both of those scripts are destined to go into AAA production. They are destined to go into the big screen with these two guys, and now it's a matter of who is going to be the hero, the victor of the story, and who is going to taste the bitter pill of defeat. Don't get me wrong, both of them are heroes, but there can only be one winning team.
Yeah, absolutely, and Hemmingsen is delivering that to his team right now, but don't forget, this is going to chop and change throughout the race. We just go under 15 hours to go in this race, and the sector times have come in 0.8 of a second in favour of Simoncic. It's down to 7 seconds. He lost not even 1/10 of a second on the last lap, did Simoncic, and yeah, this is just quite the remarkable race. These two in a class of their own, way out in front of everybody else, and there's nobody else that can even touch these two at the moment. We're just waiting to see when these guys come into the pit lane. I believe there are going to be driver swaps. I don't know if it's going to be in terms of the 777. I don't know if it's going to be Grankvist or Sinek. I would say Grankvist for a couple of stints maybe, but honestly with the Burst Esport car, I've got no idea, because this is the longest stint that anybody's ever done in the Burst Esport car, by the way. This is the 3rd stint for Simoncic now, and the maximum anyone's done in that car so far is only 2 laps. So, sorry, 2 stints. So yeah, that he's gone a long time compared to everybody else, and it just shows how engrossed he is in this battle if he's staying out longer than his teammates.
Indeed so. And just an update from outside of your screens, the 999 right now, which we saw near the front of the pack earlier on. That team, which we haven't really talked about during the last couple of hours for obvious reasons. Well, a certain man did exactly 4 hours in that Abstineo Forza Polonia car. He is Ernest Lapins, the Latvian driver. He has now served his 2-hour break, and he is back. And he is back in the car, he is lapping fast, and he is now having a 15-second gap to Paul Holt ahead of him that he is going to have to chase down in this stint, and we're just gonna keep one eye on it to see how it's developing. Meanwhile, on this lap, Jelnej Simoncic, he scored 1 second, over 1 second to Martin Hemmingsen, and I wonder, I can't help but wonder even, is that going to mean another fastest lap changing hands here? He might just go purple here on the Nürburgring once again, and just, okay, we have a lead battle, we have 2 gladiators fighting for the lead. That's amazing enough in and as itself, but as a testament to their ability, their willpower, their skill, and their bravery, their sheer guts, and their sheer testicular fortitude. Well, they are also rewriting those lap records.
Testicular fortitude, what a phrase that is. But yeah,
Thankfully.
never heard that in my life. But there you go. It's all true. It's all true right now. These guys really are at the top of their game, and they're putting on a show for us right now. As the race leader just onto the Dottingerhout, and the second place man will do the same. It looks like actually a cut track there for Hemmingsen, so that is an interesting one, because you've got to avoid those. I know it's pretty difficult to pick up a cut track at the Nürburgring, because there's not really places you can cut, apart from if you just cut across the Hatzenbach or something. There's not really any places you can actually cut the track, so you've got to be careful. And obviously, as we said earlier, you don't want to be doing these stop-goes throughout these races, because you really will lose out.
Indeed, so every time you come into the stop and go, you have to take the agonizingly slow speed of, I believe, 80 km an hour down the pit lane, and then you have to sit and wait as everyone else is dialed in. We'll see the lap time of Simoncic now. He lost a bit of time in that last sector. Let's see what it's going to be. We got a 8:08.5 from Simoncic, and Hemmingsen as well. Not quite as fast this time around. Remember, these are now a little bit used tires, but still, according to my calculations, Simoncic was a little bit faster last time, but we'll have to wait and see. Of course, Simoncic now has to deal with a lapped car as well in front of him here, so that's gonna put him down just a little bit. Not too much, I reckon. Meanwhile, coming back to the topic of Ernest Slappins, he's still 15.5 seconds behind Paul Holt, so hasn't caught up significantly so far, but we know this man can do 4-hour stints. So maybe he's just getting, warmed up, dialed in a little bit. A lot of the endurance drivers are, I've noticed even. They're the kind of guys who are not at their fastest at the early part of the stint. They might use half of the first stint to, just get used to the car, drive a second, maybe two of their pace in this track, so about a couple of tenths of the pace in any other track, and then come to stint 2, come stint 3, they are absolutely dialed in.
Yeah, Simoncic did exactly that. He was really struggling, and Hemmingsen actually got through. He wasn't waiting at all. He didn't even do it down into the Tiergarten where you'd expect it. He did it into Kesselchen, where Simoncic gave him a taste of his own medicine basically an hour and a half later. So we've seen that with Simoncic, and now he's on top of his game. He really is trying to close in on that car of Hemmingsen, but there's all sorts of battles going on up and down this order now. We've got Paul Holt versus Ernest Lappings, and we've also got a battle for 6th going on, because we've had a change in the 888. Jamie Tattoo. I've got no idea what that name says. There you go. That's how you say it, really. But yeah, down below 9 seconds now, and that could also be a battle to watch later on.
Yes, indeed. So, well, it might be a silent H, it might be a 2A. But either way, depending on the nationality of the driver, either way, Jamie has been able to take that position, I do believe, and he's continuing on. Meanwhile, I'm watching Simoncic, and he lost once again a little bit of time behind a lapped car, and that means he's now 8.5 seconds back from Martin Hemmingsen. So he has the pace, but so far he just hasn't had the fortune of getting past those lapped cars at the right time. And seldom does one think that in Nürburgring are those lapped cars going to be a factor, especially as we are essentially driving with a single class plus one car out on the track. But what do you know, Simoncic, he has to be so frustrated right now that he's lost all that time due to essentially no fault of his own.
Yeah, he's going to have to work a lot harder to get back that time than how easy it was for him to lose it. So 8 seconds it is right now. But don't forget, it can ebb and flow, and Hemmingsen could come across the same kind of traffic in just a few laps, so he can't give up all hope just yet. As we just continue on here, this is just an incredible race at the moment. We're just coming past 11:15 in the evening European time, and yeah, it's a very interesting race indeed. Let's just say that for now, as we've got currently McLaren leading with Martin Hemmingsen from Jörne Simoncic Burst Esport BMW in behind, and then way back to Paul Holt and Ernest Lappings, who are going to be battling probably over third at some point during this race. But one battle I have noticed, the Triple Eight has been a lot faster than the 1, 2, 3 up in front of them. So I'm expecting that 6th place battle to actually be the next one.
Yeah, that could very well be the case. I think you're right on that one, even. Great insight there. So I'm just gonna want to see those lap times as well, you know, see them come on board. But yeah, I think Bakrati is gonna be under some real pressure here from Jamie Tatoué. We're gonna have to ask from him, but I think Jamie Tatoué sounds quite right in terms of pronunciation. Of course, you know, these are always the Western commentators have to, you know, wonder about how's the pronunciation. You can actually really easily get the pronunciation right if you just put it on Google Translate and set the target language and press the speaker. But yeah, that's one of the tips for, in case anyone is wondering how does one pronounce a certain name. That's the answer for that question. Leading duo still 8 seconds apart from each other, so Jamie now gonna go on board with him here and wonder when he's gonna catch back up to these guys. He's driving a McLaren and he's driving a mighty fast McLaren as well, going at a great pace so far in the Drillers Esports Academy car.
Yeah, he is, and whoa, goodness me, I'm just watching the Aston Martin up in front. That's a big slide for the Simco car. This is an old Hungarian squad who we are chasing down here with Jamie. He's Dutch, by the way, so I've no idea how that would change things, because my knowledge of languages is awful. But anyway, under 6 seconds now, about hovering around 5.5 it was for a moment, and then it just goes back out again. But yeah, it looks like that Triple A is much faster than the Aston Martin in front, and these guys are almost, I think they're almost up. They've got to be a lap down, I think. I think we're down to 5 cars on the lead lap. I'm just going to check that actually to see if this battle is actually on the lead lap. The 6th and 7th cars, as no, they're not. So we've only got 5 cars still on the lead lap, which is still quite a lot. Excuse me, it's still quite a lot considering how spread out this field is right now. We're essentially seeing a top 2 run away with everything, and everyone else is just left searching for the podium, really.
Yeah, they're really looking for the scrap from under the table, as the top 2 are fighting over which one gets the feast. And what a feast you can have with 1,000 euros. Even if you divide it by 4, you're gonna be eating well that night, I think. And which one of them is it going to be? Is it going to be the Danish squad? Which one of the teams is it going to be? That's the question for me. Burst Esports, the Danish squad with 1 Slovenian driver and 1 Polish driver, or is it going to be that Dutch team of Regen Drillers Esports with 2 Danish drivers and 1 Finnish driver? That's my real question. Either or, it's gonna be one you don't want to miss over the course of next almost 15 hours remaining on this race. And meanwhile, I'm looking at Jamie, and he's still catching up. He hasn't been able to catch up quite as fast as I anticipated over the early portion of this lap. But as we move on to the difficult section from carousel to carousel, 10 I think we are gonna be really seeing his true pace. As I mentioned earlier on even, and as everyone who's been here will know, this is the most demanding section of the track, and also the one where the memory of the track, memorizing the track and knowing it by the heart, will come be worth its weight in gold in the night time. And you know, he might be catching 2 or 3 seconds here. Wouldn't be a big surprise.
No, it wouldn't really, because there's just no respite through this section. There's no straight sections at all until you get to the dot and go. So, right the way from Hoeracht, but well, basically from the carousel, you're twisting and turning the whole time. There's no brakes, maybe a little one up there just after the carousel. But then when you get to Hoeracht, and then you're into all the corners, then you've got Brunchen, and then you go down a little bit, you go downhill just a little bit more, and then you're into the Flansgarden, and then you're going at Schwallenschwanz, and then the Kleiner carousel. So it's all, they just come thick and fast, and even faster each lap, it seems. And yeah, so these guys are going to have to deal with it right now. We'll see if the gap is changing. It's gone down by 0.6 of a second to around about 5.5 seconds, but as soon as we started watching the battle, it didn't stop. It stopped coming down quite so quickly. It was really coming down at a monumental rate, but I'm presuming the driver in that Aston Martin has got a bit more used to his track conditions, and he's kind of found his feet a little bit here.
Yeah, many times that could be exactly it, you know, finding your feet and finding your consistency, finding your pace, and just getting used to the night, really. That's one of the biggest factors, because in nighttime, I'm gonna actually have a news flash for you, a real surprise. I'm not sure if you're aware of this. This might be news to some of our viewers as well, but at the nighttime, when it's dark, it becomes increasingly difficult to see.
Oh wow, yeah, I've never noticed that before, but wow, it really is, isn't it?
I know, it's incredible insight once again here from myself and from our commentary crew. But yeah, the point here is that it takes a couple of laps to get used to. For your eyes to get used to darkness, you're gonna have to have all the lights in your apartment or in your house, you know, shut off, increase the brightness of the display a little bit, and just, you know, so you're able to see a little bit better. But it still gets a couple of laps to get used to in terms of grip levels, how's the car behaving, and also where am I gonna turn in and so on. It's just even though you practiced 1000 laps, it will still be an effect.
Yeah, your reference points will be all over the place, so you really do have to pay attention, and you really do have to practice these conditions as well. You can't just fly in to a dark session and presume it's going to be the same as the daytime. You really do have to relearn the track almost, and relearn your reference points, your braking zones, your braking boards, what you're going to use, your braking references, and where you're going to turn in, and so on. So yeah, it's a different beast, isn't it, really, driving at the night. It really is. These guys seem to be dealing with it right now. You're seeing the GP circuit with this battle at the moment. It's fairly well lit. It's not like the circuit in Abu Dhabi or any other floodlighted circuit, or the Bahrain International.
Yeah. Singapore, the night track in quotation marks.
Yeah, it's not really that night, but to be fair, the cars that race there don't have headlights, so I guess it would be a challenge, but it would be funny. So I guess they should just try and get them off one day and see what happens. But obviously that's not going to happen. There's none of that around here. There's no floodlights to shut off because they don't exist, especially out on the Nordschleife. And anyway, if you had some, then the forest would most likely block it all in. So. Probably wouldn't be the best, if I'm honest, and we like it this way, really, don't we? Having it pitch black, it's more of a challenge, and that's what we like watching.
I would like random floodlights to be lit at, let's say, 15-minute intervals. There would be like 21 of them around the circuit, and they will be randomly lit around the track at random intervals. Just so some poor sub is gonna be coming into a corner, and then, you know, they're gonna be hit in the face by the floodlight coming on just now. No, in all seriousness though, I don't think, you know, bright lightning, the cost aside, the cost would be astronomical, let alone the logistics of getting the electricity all the way around there as well, and finding the suitable positions and so on and so forth. I like it this way, but I would like, you know, is the natural lighting that comes alive when you go across the track. Maybe a couple of lights here and there added to some of the corners, added among the trees, but in reality this is just an amazing track in and of itself, and it is a challenge each and every time around. But it can also, you know, wear down on you, because the mental fatigue that you're gonna have over the course of 24 hours of racing, it is such a considerable threat that looms above everyone, even if you're prepared, even if you're a hardened endurance racing veteran. I can say from experience that driving here, all of a sudden you can just lose your concentration totally and forget a corner, which has happened right after Flugplatz. The first left-hander just brushing the wall, thankfully there, but just, you know, forgetting to turn in really, you know, just because your mind is just so fried out, you're so burned out from all that driving, and you're still gonna have to keep going, and then you just have to do a little bit of a mental reset at the next straight, slap yourself on the cheek really hard, replace your drink with something like vinegar, and then get that actually wakes you up really well. That's one of my secret tricks.
I can't imagine it's particularly tasty, but yeah, I would imagine it.
It's an acquired taste.
Well, I can imagine that, yeah, it's interesting taste, I can imagine, but I'm just noting the gap to the leader, by the way. It's come down rapidly. 3.5 seconds is the margin. Hemmingsen must have made a mistake somewhere in the first sector, because he's dropped 2.2 seconds in there, and that gap wasn't 6 seconds at the line, I can tell you. So there's been another mistake in sector 2 here. Hemmingsen feeling the pressure. He actually gained 1.3 seconds on Simic last time around, but that was last lap, and this is this lap. So he's made a couple of mistakes on this one. It's down to 3 seconds, and this battle is about to be tasty again. We're a couple of laps away from pit stops, it has to be said, but these two are now on the same cycle, don't forget. They're pitting on the same lap from here on in, and it's going to be a straight fight on the road. Little strategy. I'll say little strategy. There's still quite a lot to go in terms of strategy, but it's going to be largely fought on track, this battle is now.
Yeah, it is going to be, and you can just see how much the gap has gone down, and I wasn't expecting that from Martin Hemmingsen, because he's been so mistake-free really. He had that one error when he came a little bit too wide on the carousel, you know, the Caracciola carousel, the big one. He just dropped off the groove, but that's really something that can happen to everyone when you're pushing the envelope, when you're pushing the limit. But after that, he's been so mistake-free, he's been so clean. And now he just all of a sudden makes a mistake, and the gap is down to 3.5 seconds. So that's unbelievable, and I think it's gonna be a little bit off the cycle, but I think this is an opportune time to just step aside for a couple of minutes and take a look at these messages from our wonderful sponsors, and when we get back, we're gonna be once more in the heat of the battle.
Communication. It started out as a conversation between two people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. Their 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40x40mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80x40mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160x40mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Willkommen zurück bis Nürburgring 24 Hours auf die GTR. Welcome back to the GTR Nürburgring 24 Hours. My German is rustier than I remember. I thought I could wing it, but apparently not. We are with 14.5 hours to go in this event. We are heading towards the halfway point, racing through, and we are watching these gladiators battle it all throughout the night. It is Martin Hemmingsen versus Jelena Simoncic. That's been the battle of this race so far. Hemmingsen and Simoncic, they were having an almighty scrap just a little under 1 hour ago. All throughout the stint, side by side, 2 wheels on the grass, the most amazing fight you've ever seen. And then in the pit stops, the 777 team made a curious call. They came in 1 lap earlier than their scheduled time to match their schedule with the 94 Burst Esports, and as a result of that, they are on the same lap, but they were able to pull a 6-second gap due to the shorter fueling time. It was looking good for Martin Hemmingsen and the team, but since then the fatigue has caught up to him and he made a couple of mistakes, and now the gap is down to 2.5 seconds between the leading duo, and it is Simoncic once again, the Slovenian Superman, on the hunt, and Hemmingsen just has to hold on like the best Danish defender we have ever seen. We also bid farewell for some time to Ivan O'Leary, and we welcome back the man himself, Cameron Roger. Cam, welcome back and watching these battles and following these battles and watching Nürburgring at night. Oh, there is nothing like it.
It's a shame that we seem to miss quite an amazing battle there, but yeah, it's certainly hotting up here. There's only 2 and a bit seconds behind them, and last lap Simoncic was 4 seconds quicker, so he has certainly got the upper hand as we come towards the end of what I believe we're down to the 10th hour, so we're coming towards the end of the 10th hour here at the Nürburgring, and they're just about to make their pit stop at the end of this lap, and it's going to be an all-important pit stop as it will be the first one since they're on the same strategy properly. So we'll have to see if there's any sort of discrepancies between the pit stop times between the 2 chassis as well, because they have slightly different fuel tanks, for instance. But yeah, I'm excited to see what these guys can do as we're now properly in the night, dark in the sky, and yeah, I'm looking forward to some night stints.
So am I, buddy. So am I. It's gonna be night all the way to the morning. No, really? I must be a detective, but it's gonna be a night all the way to the morning, so still we are in the early portions of the night stints, and for these drivers it must feel like it's been dark for an eternity, but no, it's still the beginning of the night time, and it's only now that for some of them the fatigue is starting to set in, let alone when it gets to proper, when it gets like 3 a.m, 4 a.m, 5 a.m, when the sun is starting to shine, it's starting to hurt your eyes a little bit, and you are starting to feel, you know, so very tired, and you still know, and that's the most dangerous time of the race, because you still have like 8 hours left, you still have a long endurance event left to do, and you feel like, oh, we survived the night, it is all over, but that is up to come in the future, that is to come in a couple of hours time. We still have to focus on what is here and what is now, and that is Hemmingsen versus Simoncic. That is drillers versus burst, and that is for the race win. The 24 hours of the Nürburgring win here at GTR 24 hours of the Nürburgring, and it is for 1,000 euros. That is quite a nice bunch of money. I think you'll get a couple of nice dishes of fish and chips, and maybe even a bit of curry with it. A decent curry.
A nice bit of currywurst as well, which which would be quite good considering you're in Germany. But yeah, especially for the drillers guys, split between 3 people. That is not a bad haul for a day's work for them. But there's still plenty of time to go. We should not get carried away with ourselves here. Plenty of pit stops, plenty of action. And as you said, Martin Hemmingsen has made a couple of small mistakes. So just showing that mistakes can creep into it. And over the back half of the track, the distance between Jani Simicic and Martin Hemmingsen has stayed fairly stable, so it's looking like there's going to be an almighty battle between these two, but we are expecting them both to come in the pit stop this lap, and we'll have to see where they both come out.
Indeed so. Hemmingsen still in the lead, remember. Simonic still in the second place, so it has been the story of last couple of hours. 777 leading, 94 in the second place. We haven't really talked about the third place battle much, and that's because it hasn't really been a
Hemmingsen
battle.
Continues. Oh, sorry, it's one more lap. Sorry.
Yeah, it's one more lap. So we haven't really talked about the third place battle, and that's because it hasn't really had a chance to develop. But it is Ernest's lap-ins in the car. And remember that fellow who did 4 hours and then went in to do an extra pit stop just so he can get out of the car before they get penalized for being a bunch of naughty boys. Well, he had his couple of hours of rest and now he is back, and I'm expecting great things from that 999.
His last lap time wasn't amazing. It's crazy to see actually how the spread of lap times has got even bigger. The top 2 pushing themselves so much they're doing between 805s and then 810s, whereas the cars behind them are all in sort of the 813, 815 even, so there's quite a few seconds per lap slower they are now. The pace difference is really starting to show as Hemmingsen and Simicic are pushing each other to the absolute limit, but hopefully Lappins can get a little bit on the pace because they are quite a way down now. They are 6 minutes off the lead.
Yeah, they are, and that's not a small margin. That is not something you can make up with a couple of good stints. That is a significant gap down to the lead, and I think their fight really is now for the third place, unless the leaders do something dramatic, do something drastic. Well, drama is something the Nürburgring 24 doesn't usually lack. So one of those things one has to keep in mind. The race is not over until it is over. But still, we are seeing 2 very different battles, and we might be just seeing the 777 and 94 decide the fate of this victory between each other, between one another, and then we can focus on the third place battle as well. And I'm just can't help but wonder, are they actually going to catch and lap the 33 and the 999?
Well, they're getting most of the way there, aren't they? So
yeah, before the halfway point.
Yeah, that is very possible. So they might be, but there seems to be such a huge gap between who's in the car now, Paul Holt and Jani Simicic. So for their sake, I do hope that closes down a little bit, but it's looking like these top guys are pushing away so fast. I don't think they're going to be able to close that up on pure pace. It seems like it's really a two-way fight now, but they're pushing each other so hard that's just making them go even quicker. And they're still 7 seconds quicker than the cars behind.
Yeah, and especially at nighttime. In daytime we didn't see such big gaps, but at nighttime, the expertise of this track and the sheer commitment that you're able to have, it just goes to show on a whole different level. Because you got so many corners in this track that even if you are, erring on the side of caution on one of these corners, on every other corner, and you're losing 1/10 of a second there, maybe you're gonna lose half a second over the course of a normal racing lap. That is around 10-15 corners. You lose maybe half a second, 7/10 of a second, and all of a sudden that's like 5 seconds here if you lose 1/10 in every other corner. and even more than that. So that just goes to show you how hard you have to commit to be able to drive at the pace these two leaders have been driving. And also another interesting point is that you know, how many places there are at the Nürburgring, and especially at the Nordschleife section, the north lobe of the track, where you just have to fully commit yourself, and where you can you know, not gain time but rather avoid losing time by, you know, choosing to take it at your absolute limit.
And that's a very key point. If say there's 15 corners on a track and you lose a tenth per corner, that's 1.5 seconds. Here with 180 corners, if you lose a tenth per corner, that's 18 seconds. So it's crazy how that gets exaggerated here with the amount of corners that there are. And yeah, it seems that the top two are pushing away so far, and I should say the expertise coming in for these two drivers as they push each other even further into the night, and that gap is staying pretty close and pretty stable.
He went a little bit wide at the fast uphill portion of the track, and that mistake cost him just a bit of time, maybe a tenth, maybe 2 tenths. But that's the one mistake that you're gonna want to have to avoid here. It wasn't a big error, it wasn't big enough to warrant a replay or anything, but it was just a little bit 2 wheels on the grass at the exit of Bergwerk, and that's one of those things you're gonna have to avoid here, because those add up so easily, and that also has a mental effect on you, Cam, because next time you come into that point, you might wanna say to yourself like, okay, I made a mistake here last time. It's gonna be in the back of your mind, you're gonna lift just a little bit, and when you come into a similar corner, you're gonna be like, oh, maybe what if I go wide again? It was so close the last time, and you're gonna become cautious.
And especially for Yanni Simčić, for instance, because I believe he's 2 hours ahead of me, so he's at 12:40 in the morning, so it's already getting fairly late there, and he's already done a fair amount of racing today. I believe this is their 3rd stint that he's been in the car here, and he's also done some racing elsewhere this afternoon, so he's been up doing quite a lot of work already today, and that's mentally draining to be concentrated for that long, especially when they've been pushing so hard. So we might see him jump out of the car. In fact, I'm actually expecting both drivers to change at the end of this stint, because I think it's getting to that point where they're going to have to swap out so they don't make any silly mistakes.
Minor correction there. The point was correct, but the time in Slovenia right now is 11:40 p.m. so they're 1 hour ahead of the UK time.
Oh, really?
They're in the Central European time zone. Yeah.
That's good news for him.
Yeah, that is good news for him.
1 hour
because
benefit.
Yeah, because we are seeing, I believe, at least according to Uven's calculations, which might be correct, might not be correct, we might be seeing a Finnish driver come behind the wheel of the 777 car next after Hemmingsen, Jan Granqvist. And as said, he is a Finnish driver, and that means for him currently it is 20 to 1 a.m. so he's 2 hours ahead of the UK time.
Yeah, there's quite a few of the Europeans out here. Obviously, me being in the UK, I'm an hour behind you lot. So I'm in the past, you're in the future. Yes. Which is actually quite good in sim racing terms, because if you have a driver, say, from the USA, they can often help out with the night stints because it's their afternoon or evening. So that's generally quite a good dynamic to have between your teammates, and that was something that I had. One of my drivers a couple of years ago, he was Canadian, in the Midwest, so I think he was like 8 hours or 7 hours behind us, so that was really good for him doing the night stints. I'm not sure any of these teams actually have that advantage from the driver knowledge that I know, but yeah, Hemmingsen is coming now down the Duttingerhut, and I believe that is a HM Engineering SP7 who is in that car. Pev is in that car, and we do believe that Hemmingsen will be coming into the pits this time round. I got it wrong last lap, they were doing one more, but I do believe this time they're definitely coming in, as Peo's slightly holding up Martin here, but Martin shouldn't be too worried as he's going into the pits.
Yes, he is, and Simoncic will be following suit, and we do predict driver changes for both of these teams. I do think so. Well, take your hats off, ladies and gentlemen, for these guys as they exit their cars, because it has been an absolutely amazing battle between the two. I hope we can get a couple of words from them after that, you know, maybe a little bit of mid-race interview. I certainly hope so. Would be lovely to hear from them. What are their thoughts after such a hard fought battle? Either way, we are heading into the next stint, into the next hour for these guys. Gonna be very interesting to see who are gonna pick up the pieces, you know, and continue on from there as both of these cars are gonna get their refueling done and their tires changed as well. So Simoncic and Henningsen are, I believe, exiting their cars at this moment in time, waiting a little bit for the pit stop, and then they're gonna once more storm back onto the track with 14 hours and 20 minutes remaining.
And these two drivers have been so consistent. Their best times are within 400ths of a second, so that's the best time during the whole race, and their last lap on their in lap was within 300ths of a second. So that is just showing how close they are. And yes, Henry Sinek has got in, and also David Mrocek. So Mrocek, this is his first laps in the car. Henry Sinek did the first 4 hours of the race. So Henry already has some track knowledge, but not in the dark as such, but he definitely knows how that car feels today. Whereas David Mrocek, these are his first laps, and these are quite crucial laps for the next part of the race and who's going to be leading it as we get to the halfway stage in a couple of hours' time.
Indeed so, and I wonder how fast David is going to be getting in tune with that car. As you said, it's his first laps. It's first laps in the dark. He is gonna be the designated night driver for this team, but I wonder what that's gonna mean. What is it going to mean for him?
I just saw David do a little flash of the headlights there to Henry to say, I know you gained a second or two in the pit stop, but I'm still coming for you. I always like when drivers do that. But I'm sure we'll give David a lap or two just to get up to pace. And then as he heads towards the middle and end of his first stint, we'll really see his times come down, I'm sure. Both of these drivers need to get a feel for it. Obviously, the rubber has gone down quite a lot. Gone up quite a lot, I should say. So the grip of the track will have increased. The lap times will be have a lot more potential. So they need to just get a feel for that, and then they can get pushing. But they do need to be careful not to make any silly mistakes when they're in such an important position.
Yeah, that is indeed so. And you know, it's kind of difficult to get into the car driving your first stints with almost halfway through the race. We are 10 hours through this race, and he's just sitting in the car getting a feel for it. But I'm sure he's been practicing, you know, by himself, trying to practice the conditions, emulate them as soon as possible. And of course, the amount of practice these drivers do in general is just now unbelievable, you know, how much effort they're putting into it, how committed the entire team is. And especially in a battle like this, it can feel a little bit disheartening, and knowing what a heroic effort the driver before you just put in that car, and then you're gonna follow him next, and after your first stint there's gonna be like a 20-second, 30-second margin, which is a realistic case considering David is having to get used to this car. He might easily drop 3 or 4 seconds a lap in the early goings here. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But you know, I'm not saying he's a bad driver, just saying that is something that easily can happen, and it can be kind of deflating. But you have to remember that it is better still to drive a little bit slower and keep the car on track than try to drive fast and going over your limit and putting it into the wall, because that is the worst thing you can do in an endurance race.
Yeah, don't want to be putting it in the wall. And the worst part I've had as a sim racer, I mean anyone who's been in that situation where you, in an endurance race, you get out of your stint just like Yanis Simoncic now. It's just getting towards the night, so you go for a little nap for a couple of hours, you come back, and then your car's in the wall and you're 2 laps down. So that is always the worst feeling. So you do not want to do that, because remember, it is not just yourself, it's you and your teammates and anyone else involved in your team that you will let down if you are the one to crash the car.
And Cam, guess what? My hopes came true, and I'm gonna give you the honors here. Actually, I'm gonna start it, just a quick question, because I was the one actually watching in the commentary booth during that time. We welcome in the commentary booth, and we bow down to you, gentlemen, because you were one half of the most amazing battle I have ever laid my eyes on. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from the 94 Burst Esport car, Jelnej Simoncic. Jelnej, that was incredible. Can you just... where do we even begin? You were catching up to Henningsen, and then you guys had an amazing battle for one whole stint. You were so close for a lot of the time, but couldn't quite find a way through until you did, only to be passed once again. First of all, tell me, was it ever a plan to just stay behind them and, draft them all the way to the end of the stint and look for a chance maybe? Or was it always a plan to take the lead away from them?
Well, thank you for the nice introduction. There was no real master plan. When I took over the car, I knew that I would need some laps to adapt to the conditions, to see how everything is going. And then suddenly I was in the slipstream of the McLaren, which is so fast on the straights, so it was a huge deal to be able to even stay within like 8 tenths before coming for the long straight. And then it was a huge deal to even come close enough, because with around 7 tenths it was not possible. The whole straight was not enough to close in 7 tenths, so 5 tenths was possible, but hard. So yeah, I had to wait for the tires to come to my favor, because we had the better tire wear. And yeah, then the battle was good fun. I think I was a bit, maybe even too safe in some places, and yeah, Henningsen was really aggressive in some other places, but I suppose it looked well on the broadcast.
It was, and you were trying a couple of times to go alongside the Mutkurve as well in the long uphill straight that isn't straight at all before the carousel section of the track. At early on you were kind of like, backing out of it, not wanting to go through there, trying to see if the opportunity comes, at the later portion on the long straight of the track. But then Henningsen made one mistake on the Caracciola carousel. He ran a little bit wide, went off the groove, and you got alongside. You weren't quite able to get past him, but was that truly the moment when the battle was on in your mind?
Yeah, I suppose so, because if he did not do that mistake, I would never be able to stick with him in the slipstream. He would have 2-second gap at the end of the lap, and 2 seconds would be just enough for him to keep himself ahead, because I think in the first half of the lap we had advantage, and then in the last part of second sector and of course in the straight they pulled away at least second. So yeah, I think that was an important moment.
Well, when the battle was finally coming into the last laps, and well, we all saw on screens what happened, let the pictures speak from themselves, really, when people watch it back and back again, and I honestly think they will with years to come. That's gonna be one of the most defining moments of both of your careers, just able to battle like that with stakes like this on the line and in such a long race. But after the battle was over and you came into the pit lane, were you surprised to see the 777 also heading into the pit lane?
Yeah, that was a big surprise, because the strategy is a huge deal, so getting one lap ahead on the strategy is really important. So they gave up that advantage. I mean, I don't quite understand. Of course, it was important for them to avoid the undercut, because if I pitted one lap earlier, I would be surely ahead. But I still think for them it would be more important to keep the one lap strategical advantage. But yeah, we will see how the race unfolds.
Yeah, we will have to just wait and see with that one. Cam, I believe you had a question.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so when do you plan on getting back in the car? Are you going to be getting back in sort of in the early morning, or are you going to get in during the night as well?
Yeah, the plan is for me to get at least some quality sleep, because otherwise I don't think I could do a single lap more. With this race being the second event of the day for me, and the fourth event in 3 days, it's of course good and fair to stay at least part of the night with the team, at least being in the boys. But in this situation, it's better for me to leave for some hours and then come back in the morning.
Right, well, we'll let you get off to go and get some sleep. So thank you for talking to us, and good luck to you and your team. And maybe we'll speak to you a bit later. So hopefully you have a good race, and good luck.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. So that was Jernej Simoncic from the Burst Esport team, and that was him after an unbelievable stint. And he's gonna get some well-earned rest, gonna come back into the car later on to continue setting this track alight. And well, it has been as predicted here, Cam. So far, Henry Sinek has been able to put on a little bit of a lead versus David Mrocek. But David, he is just getting used to the car and getting back on track, so we can really expect that from him.
Yeah, David Mrocek, as we mentioned, just got in the car, so I will allow him a couple of laps to get up to racing speed. But yeah, I mean, he's only dropped off 6 seconds so far. It's not the end of the world, and he will, yeah, I'm sure, get quicker and quicker. He is a very, very fast driver, not too far behind Jernej Simoncic in most cars, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's setting some really fast laps. But as we said, he does need to get into the rhythm of the car, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's setting those hot laps by the end of this first stint of his.
No, not at all surprised. It wouldn't be, you know, one of those big shockers, big surprises to see that he is gonna improve his pace, and so far he's been holding on rather well, dropping 3 seconds to Henry Sinek, well, 3 or 4 seconds at this first part of his stint, and that, considering it is nighttime, considering he hasn't yet turned a lap in this race, is quite good. And now he can settle into cruise and then find his rhythm, his comfort zone, and his pace, the kind of pace he is comfortable with and the kind of pace he is, you know, happy with continuing on in this race. Meanwhile, Ernest Slapins for the third place has been able to catch up 1 second to Paul Holt. Since I last checked, he's half a second faster per lap, and I think those two guys deserve a mention, Paul Holt and Ernest Slapins, in a sense that they've been lapping a very similar times all throughout their stints pretty much. It's been 8:14 flat for Paul Holt and 8:13.5 for Lapins, so that is something which I personally predicted might come closer as Lapins gets his groove on, but so far hasn't really developed in the direction I anticipated.
I'd be expecting these guys to keep battling on as we go through, and yeah, I would expect Ernest maybe to catch Paul Holt, because with no disrespect to Paul, I do think Ernest is a slightly quicker driver, so I would expect him to be closing that gap down. But obviously the gaps between a lot of these cars are very, very small, so it does take a number of laps to catch up that time. But he's still at 10 seconds to catch up. He was half a second quicker last lap, so at that pace it is going to take quite a stint or so. But they come into the pit. Mrocek almost lost it.
Oh,
that was a big little slide coming.
Let's see if I can grab something from it.
Difficult to see exactly which corner that is. I think that was a Bergwerk coming out onto that sort of back straight that's not straight. He had a nice little wiggle there. And yeah, he had a nice little wiggle and managed to save that, but that is gonna probably lose him another couple of seconds. Yeah, now he's 10 seconds off the lead as Ernest and Paul are both into the pit lane.
Yeah, and that's gonna mean, 10 seconds. That's a significant margin to lose in a couple of corners. And that's something he's not gonna be really able to claw back, because you can't really make up time you lost making a mistake. You can catch up to the guy, you can try harder, but that's not gonna be time you're gonna be really, making up. That's just time that, has been already lost, and you can only think about, how close I would be if I hadn't made a mistake. But at the same time, it can be a pitfall because you can't think about it. So it's always funny when I hear drivers and people mentioning that, he has to make up the time now. No, he doesn't. He can't make up the time. It's already been lost. It's just gone down in the fourth dimension. But that's just me being a little bit pedantic about some things, Similarly, I believe it was Lewis McGlade mentioning something earlier on during the 24-hour event, the Endurance Racing World Championship event, about something regarding sandwiches and how Ferrari between two McLarens isn't a McLaren sandwich in a similar vein as a hamburger isn't a bun sandwich, but it's a cheeseburger.
A bun sandwich. Imagine if that's what we called it. That would be amazing.
The bun sandwich, that would be brilliant.
Yeah, I'm very glad we know it as a cheeseburger or a hamburger. What have you seen?
No, nothing. Just do you remember what they call a quarter pounder in France?
I do not.
A Royale with cheese. Have you not seen Pulp Fiction?
I embarrassingly fell asleep through it.
I know what'll happen next time we have a get together with this crew. We're gonna make you watch Pulp Fiction.
Yes, I have seen the start of it, but it was like at a friend's house, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning when we started watching it, and I fell asleep. But it's a very popular movie, so one day I do need to finish that. But yes, I've only seen the first part of that movie.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that is always quotable, and none of those quotes are something you can say on the broadcast, really, apart from that sandwich part. Or the hamburger part. But going back into the race event, we have a 24-hour race going on, ladies and gentlemen, and we are now in the point with the race where we can't really offer you fast food advertisements, but we can show you some products and some brands that will certainly improve your life almost as much, if not even above the fact that the amount that watching Pulp Fiction will improve your life. So stay tuned, we'll be right back after these messages from our lovely sponsors.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. Their 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40x40mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80x40mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160x40mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Communication. It started out as a conversation between 2 people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
And welcome back to the Nürburgring 24 hours here for GTR24H. And we are literally about to hit the 10-hour mark, almost on the dot as we come back here. And yeah, it's been a very exciting race so far. We're getting a very close battle for the top positions as well. As Ossie wants to show you a really nice some of the cars coming through, then they do look so good, don't they, through the night here, through the forest. And that is David Mroczek that you are watching his headlights go through, and you can't see anything else because it is so black and so dark out when you get to the proper Nordschleife. But Ossie, this is been a brilliant race so far, and David hasn't quite got onto the speed yet. He's still about 10 seconds off Henry Sinek, but he's not letting him get away too far.
No, he is not. He's made those couple of he made that one mistake, and since then he's been quite solid. So far so good, and despite that mistake, we talk about, huge mistake for him. He lost so much time. 8:12.6. He was still the second fastest man on track last time by, despite the fact that he spun. That goes to show you just how above and beyond everyone else the leading duo is right now in terms of raw pace. And remember, those are no Sunday drivers. Those are good drivers. They are experienced, hardened, battle-ripened veterans. And they are still just head and shoulders above the rest.
Oh, sorry, I was just having a look. David Kalaxo, sorry. Ernest Lappin, no, it's not even Ernest Lappin, they changed drivers again. Just James Zuber, sorry, had a bit of contact with a back marker. Coming sort of the last third of the lap, I think it was. But yeah, guy in 4th position, so he's lost a bit more time, and that gap to Cliff Van Der Ven, who took over from Paul Holt, has got even bigger. So yeah, some more time lost for them, and that's not really what you want to be doing. But yes, getting pretty close between some of these drivers out there on the track, as a bit of contact there.
Yeah, just a tiny bit of contact, but nothing too major. There are nothing race ending, nothing terminal, and the last thing you want to see at this point in the race is terminal damage. So that's good for them. They're being able to keep their car on track and keeping going, and that's all you need to really do at this stage, to keep going. And I'm watching David Mroczek at this moment in time, and I'm not sure if it's just a bit of netcode related, or is he really sketchy at some points of this track, really bouncing it over the curbs and going very wide indeed. He wants to find his rhythm, and Cam, there are a lot of ways a driver can find his rhythm. One of the ways is just to, bleed it in slowly, get used to the rhythm, find your way around these corners, explore the limits, find out where the limit is before you hit it, and then just keep the pace going. Another way to get back in the groove with racing is just go flat out all the way from the get-go, and then just trust in the fact that your instincts will take over at some point, but you're gonna need to be a really talented and really experienced racing driver and a really great racing driver to pull that off, just waking yourself up to it basically by getting close to the limit from the get-go, and then just saving the car a couple of times and then finding that limit. To have your adrenaline kick in, to get that shaking of the legs off, get those wet feet off. And I wonder if Mroczek is choosing the latter over the former at this moment in time. Ow, that's a mighty wiggle.
Yes, he's certainly pushing from the get-go, has to be said. You see all the wiggles that he's doing. He is getting very loose indeed, but you do have to be careful. You don't want to push over the limit. There's no point throwing this away. You're only, what is he now? 11 seconds off the lead, almost 12 seconds off the lead. So it's not like he's miles behind. He doesn't need to push like crazy and throw this away. He just needs to keep it nice and calm and find his rhythm, but he looks like he's just going all guns blazing, trying to get the pace straight away.
Yeah, and just something that goes to show you the pace of these guys, by the way, and the pace of these leading drivers. He's coming up to the car in 5th place. That is the number 71 entry, and they're about to lap them. The Musto GD Esports are about to be lapped. And come again, when was the last time in R Factor 2 that a Musto car was lapped?
Yeah, I mean, Your point being that they are a very good team, and that is very true. Lapped. I don't know. I don't know. In terms of pure pace, I don't know. Obviously, you know, if they had issues in like a sprint race, then that might be there might be a chance for them to go lap down. But yeah, here at the Nürburgring as well, to go a lap down is massive because of the length of the lap, and yeah, not really what you want to be doing. As we mentioned pretty much from the start, keeping on that lead lap, waiting for because if you're so far behind, catching up on pace is difficult, but staying on that lead lap is so crucial, because then if the leader does have a issue, you are right there to capitalize.
Indeed so, and then you can just, you know, grab a win out of thin air, really. And that's one of those things that just might happen in the later portions of this race, even though it's looking so far so good for our leaders. And Henry Sinnick has been able to pull himself a 12.5 second cushion, and I think that for his confidence and his drive right now is so very important, because Mrocek has been making those mistakes, and he put in a 8.11 flat despite getting a little bit hairy at some places. Sinnick's lap was 8:10.4, so only 6/10 gained last time by, so this might be mighty close indeed had Mrocek made those mistakes earlier on. So David certainly has the pace, now he just needs to put it all together and, you know, keep going essentially all the way to the end of his stint and the next stint, and maybe even the stint after that, because I predict that they will be triple stinting all throughout the night. That just makes sense from here on out, to get those guys some rests, and, you know, to get those guys at least 4 or 5 hours of good sleep for each and every one of them, so they have somewhat fresh eyes come morning, come sunrise.
And considering they have 4 drivers, if they do triple stints each, that's 9 hours between your stints, which is plenty of time to get a good sleep, as Yerne mentioned when he came and spoke to us recently. So I would assume he's going to get a nice fresh set of eyes, as you say, for the morning stints. David, I believe, was also doing the same races that Yerne was doing as well, so he's not going to be any less tired, but he got the short straw of having the last stint before they go and cycle around back to Henningsen and Pedersen. And he's certainly doing pretty well so far, just needs to get calmed down. As you say, he was only 7/10 or 6/10 slower last lap despite having a couple of issues. So if he gets this going, he might be able to get even quicker than Sinnick. And just as I mentioned, these guys are between sort of 4 to 5 seconds slower than what Simoncic and Hemmingsen were doing. So there's plenty of time left on the table in these cars.
Indeed so, and you know, time, we talk about that a lot in endurance racing, but it can't really be understated. What is the effect of time? Because it takes 24 hours to finish this race, of which we still have 13 hours and 52 minutes left. We're not even halfway through yet, and we've already seen like the distance of 5 good races play down here. But also, it takes 1 second to make a mistake and put your car into the wall. And so you have a whole lot of opportunities, quite a few opportunities to put your car into the wall in this race. And that is exactly what you must avoid. But that's the last thing in your mind when you're racing, because I can tell from experience, you can also probably tell from experience, Cam, what it feels like to just drive a long stint, get into the groove of it. You're not really thinking about what could happen. You're not really thinking about, oh, I'm gonna have to stay out of the wall. You're just thinking about the next corner, aren't you?
Yeah, that's one thing that I always try to do when I'm racing myself. I always try to focus on just what's the next corner, what's the next braking zone. Then obviously after a while you then get into a bit of a rhythm, but just focusing on the next corner makes you or stops you from thinking too far in the future, because if you start thinking far in the future, you get ahead of yourselves and then you start making mistakes in the present. And that's exactly what I did at the EEWC last year in Viborg. It was coming to the end of the stint. I was just coming towards the Porsche curves, and I had one more lap to do, so I had basically 1 lap and a sector to do. As there's a contact there on the live stream. Who was that? Who was that? It was guard racing, and someone had a bit of contact there.
Oh.
Massive contact indeed. I want to see the gaps to see who it was. It looks like potentially the Fair Racing team. No, it was Drillers. It was the Drillers car, the second Drillers car. Had a bit of contact, I believe, with the guard racing as they went for an overtake. That was a big bit of contact. And who is in that car now? It's Hansen tried to go round the outside, and that is just not what you want to do. There was damage definitely on that car as well as they went into the wall. That was at the end of the first little bit of the track after the Hudson-Back area of the track, and he's gonna have some front axle damage actually on that, but they are continuing nicely due to the slight reduction in the damage model. But yeah, to continue the point, yeah, then when
I actually have a replay for that if you wanna
oh yeah, we'll show that first. Yeah, show that first, go on.
So yeah, you're right, they are coming into the point here, just letting a lap car by, and yeah, they just ran out of room there. And that's a harsh impact indeed, but they're gonna be able to keep going from there on out. Just gonna mind the a little bit of a choppy rewind, but that is how replays work here. Just gonna try to fetch you an onboard angle to really properly explain what's going on here. So here you see him just trying to avoid, and yeah, that was the 6th place car, the 999 actually, that just turned in on him and took heavy nose damage. All through no fault of the 24, I must say.
Yeah, it was a little bit of an awkward place to let him through, but definitely the 888 just turned in a little bit too far, didn't allow enough room, and is going to have to get a nice careful overtake this time around. Well, actually no, sorry, he's actually got past it now, hasn't he? So yeah, a bit unfortunate that happened, but yeah, obviously that does happen. Sometimes just make a little bit of a small mistake in the judgment of how wide your car is, and yeah, unfortunately a bit of damage there, but the forgiving damage settings on the server means that they should be able to continue rather nicely.
Yeah, so Sebastian Shaw Hansen in that 888 car is gonna have to keep going and keep fighting here. Now that means of course that the 6th place they had acquired, the gap behind now is just 20 seconds to the 1, 2, 3 piloted currently by Gergely Egervari. So you know, the gap has gone down between the Drillers Esports Academy, the 888 car, and Sebastian Shaw Hansen and the 1, 2, 3 car. So that's something we're gonna have to keep an eye on, especially if the damage is considerable. We might be seeing the Hungarian Simco team, you know, in the 1, 2, 3 take a position in not too long.
And positions can change quickly here, despite it being such a long lap and such a long sort of time in the race, because it obviously is 24 hours, plenty of time for action to happen, but things can change so quickly if you just make one slight misjudgment, one slight error. And fortunately most people don't actually do that too often, although I did look at the just the leaders as they went across the line a few seconds ago, and Cynic was about 2.5 seconds quicker than Merjek, so Merjek still needs to try and find a little bit of time if he wants to challenge for the lead in these couple of stints. And I believe now the Musto car is definitely lapped now. So yeah, that is the first time in quite a while, as you mentioned earlier, that the Musto car has been lapped, as they are generally a team right at the top, but they have had some issues.
Yeah, we must mention that they've had issues indeed, and that's why they are not near the top. Also, I'm watching Sebastian Shaw Hansen still and Gergely Egervari, because the Drillers Academy car has only a 13-second advantage right now, so they're definitely losing time hand over fist in this last sector of the track. And look at that, the 24 guard racing is being able to stay right behind them despite being a lap down on them, couple of laps down on them actually. So, you know, that there was some significant damage to that car, and as a result of that, the 1, 2, 3 might find themselves in a 6th position in not too long.
Yeah, for sure, that Driller's car is not going that quickly, and I do wonder if that is due to that damage, it was a big heavy impact, and that is not going to help you.
There's your answer.
Yeah, it could give them top speed damage actually as well, which would make you just generally slower. So you do have to watch out for that.
Yeah, and on board with the 888 right now, seeing an onboard shot with them, and you know, they just have to steer to the right on a straight line, about 20 degrees of steering to the right all the time. So there is not only their top speed damage, but the suspension, the chassis of the car has been damaged. The toe angles, the camber angles are not what they're supposed to be. The suspension mounting points might be damaged. There might be a, you know, one of the suspension mounts loose even. There's a whole lot of damage that these cars can acquire. And here we see on a straight line, the McLaren normally does about 280 km an hour here at the end of the Dottinger straight, the Dottinger height. And here we see running up the hill. Oh, this is gonna have to slow down. Look at them just, you know, having to brake a little bit there and having to let that 24 car by once again, I do believe. And flashing its headlights as well, and I'm not sure why, because Sebastian, I'm sorry, but that contact was all on you.
Yeah, he probably thinks it's his fault, which if you look at it from his onboard, you can probably understand it a little bit, because he probably thinks that the Corvette maybe came off the apex or something like that. But yeah, it was from where we saw it, definitely looked like his own fault. And I do wonder if he's going to come in for damage repair. Yes, he is a little bit late, but manages to make it inside the Armco. So yeah. He will be coming in for repairs, and I think he'll be sat there for a little while so they can change that front suspension.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a while they're gonna be sitting there indeed. And that's a significant blow to their chances. So the 1-2-3 got by actually. The 1-2-3 got by earlier on already. And now the next car behind is the 104. We haven't really talked about the 104 that much. The Pasta alla Norma racing team, the all-Italian team with 4 Italian drivers. And with they have Alessandro Apolloni behind the wheel currently, and I'm sorry, I can't resist pronouncing the Italian names like that. I'm not sure if it's right or wrong, but you just have to really put your tongue into it when you pronounce the Italian names. But they're gonna get themselves a position in not too long, I do believe. So they're actually out back on the track is Sebastian Johansson, 888. I wonder if that car is repaired, and I'm gonna find out the answer for you real soon.
It's telling me 49 seconds for a pit stop, which isn't too bad. So maybe there wasn't quite as much damage as it looks, but it was certainly enough for him to come and repair it. And for the sake of 49 seconds, he might as well do it, because if he loses 10 seconds a lap for the next 5 laps, then that is the same as what it just cost him for the pit stop.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell from the onboard shot here if he still has to steer a little bit to the right or not. I guess the lap times will be telling the truth. It certainly looks better than before, that's one thing. And they still have a 48-second caution to the car behind them, but that's really going to frustrate them. They were 30 seconds ahead of the car behind. Now they are over a minute behind the same car they were running away from.
And that is how quickly things can change.
Yeah, what we mentioned earlier, it takes 1 second to make a mistake.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, not even 1 second. Sometimes it's a split second. I mean, even in that situation, he went around the outside thinking, oh yeah, look, that's me, getting past the Corvette, and all of a sudden, boom, he's in the barrier, just because he slightly misjudged the width of his McLaren.
Yeah, and also I think he was expecting the Corvette to back out completely, which in fairness he could have maybe, you know, predicted that, okay, he's gonna back out completely, he's not gonna come side by side with me to the corner. Instead he's gonna, you know, brake a little bit and let me completely ahead, which I think he is, you know, you're never entitled to expect anything in racing. That's the number one mistake. Do not expect anything, you know, curb your enthusiasm and so on, because that's a team tune that's gonna be playing when you make that mistake, when they made that 1 lap ago. But at the same time, it is a place which is very difficult to come side by side. So even though I kinda, you know, well, if you're gonna have to find a fault in that incident, it's 100% on the AAA team, but it's not a mistake that is serious or egregious or, you know, something like a really nasty mistake. It's just a small mistake, a minor mistake, a miscalculation, perhaps an expectation when they shouldn't have expected anything, with dire results as a consequence. So I'm not throwing him under a bus or anything, but that just, you know, goes to show you how quickly things can indeed change. Somewhere where we haven't had much change in the last couple of laps is the leading duo, Henry Sinek. He's been able to find a little bit of pace, lapping with 8:09.8 last time by David Mrocek 8:12.1. The gap is now 14 seconds, but nothing significant there so far.
Nothing too crazy at the moment. Everything's just sort of gone, you know, a little bit stable at the moment. But I'm sure that will develop as the sessions and the time goes on. And I'm just checked up with our SP7 leader, Peopev is now in the car for HM Engineering, and he's just getting overtaken by the Drillers 888 car. And they are still going strong, still setting some decent lap times. Not well, actually, they set a blistering time for their personal best time of the race, but their current lap pace by Norbert Leitner, who's in the car, actually, sorry, not Peopiv, by Norbert is pretty good at the moment, so they're just going strong. Obviously, they've been on their own in that class for quite a while now. Unfortunately, 39 laps ago, quite a few stints ago now, we unfortunately lost the drive game seat entry, but they are still going strong. And if they get to a classification rate, then they will officially have won that class.
Yeah, and it can be, you know, kind of hard to concentrate on the racing at hand when you are the only entry in the class left, but it is still something they must race for and something they, you know, want to race for as well, not only because of the glory of the victory, even though drivers, well, let's be real here, they won't be really feeling the glory of the victory much when you are the only car left on track, but a win is a win. A win is indeed a win, and they don't also have to really go home completely empty-handed either, because there will be some prizes for the SP7 class winners as well, I do believe. Minor prizes, but minor still prizes still courtesy of our sponsor Rio Toro. So they won't be having to do, you know, just a 24-hour hot lap session for the glory and the practice of it. Both are valid reasons, but they also will get some trophies if they just finish the race.
And they are certainly doing that. They, as mentioned before, that team does love that car, and that category of car being the GT3 Cup, so a little bit slower than the full-blown GT3s. And I just had a look at the current rate that we're going. We will do something in the region of 171 laps, which I believe is 12 more than the lap distance record that me and Ewan were talking about a few hours ago now. And that is quite incredible to go that much further. And yeah, 12 laps is over a stint, which just shows you how quick these guys are going. Obviously, we have less traffic and no caution periods or local yellows to help with that as well. But yeah, these guys are going very quick.
They are going at an almighty pace, as if that was ever in doubt, you know. We've been seeing those guys fighting for quite a while indeed. As I do believe the 24 car is now stationary on the pit lane. Oh, they have put themselves a DNF. They are out of the race.
Yep. just as you said their name, I looked and it went boom, DNF. Want to double check to see what has happened.
Connection issue, I do believe, because they just went straight into the pit lane.
They were already going very slowly. Did they do something silly like run out of fuel?
I don't think so. I think it might have something to do with the fact that they had contact with that So it might be because of damage. Yeah, they have asked for the permission to rejoin from the race control just now. Let's see if race control can permit it to them due to damage. And they were involved in that contact, remember, earlier on with the 888. That was the lapped car incident through no fault of their own. So I wonder if they picked up enough damage from that one, where they just decided that, okay, we just gonna have to, park it. We can't race it. They're not gonna fix it. We can't get it fixed. We need a new car.
Engine blow, I believe. They were just driving, coming to Eschbach and then down to Brünchen, and yeah, the car just stopped. Well, the engine, I should say. And obviously that part is so downhill
Engine blow.
that they just rolled down the hill. But that is a weird one, because we're only halfway through the race, so I do hope they got enough radiator and things like that in their setup, so they're not overheating the engine.
Yeah, don't let Charlie Sheen get any wind of that one. He'll be all over the engine blow. But anyway, we are still watching this race go on. We hope that the 24 guard racing can rejoin back on track as well. And we also have a prime opportunity to watch some products which will not cause your engine to blow, but which will cause your mind to melt due to their sheer awesomeness. We'll be back after these short messages from our sponsors.
Complexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. Their 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40 by 40 mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80 by 40 mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160 by 40 mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Communication. It started out as a conversation between 2 people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
And welcome back to the Nürburgring 24 Hours by GTR24H. We're just coming to the next round of pit stops. They are on their final lap now, we believe, before the leaders will be making a pit stop. And we bring back in Ewan O'Leary to the commentary booth. And Ewan, it's going pretty nicely at the moment, but it certainly seems that this battle isn't over between Cynic and Mrozek.
No, it's definitely not over just yet. It looks like Mrozek struggled to get into the rhythm of the night, really, when he got into that car. Don't forget, that's the first time we've actually seen him. I think that's the last driver now that is getting in for the first time. Obviously, we're 10.5 hours in now, so I'll be surprised if there's any new drivers to come from here on in. But, yeah, it took him a little time to adjust, but now that he's fully there, 14 seconds, it's kind of stabilised at that kind of margin, and Cynic and Mrozek do look very evenly matched, to be fair. So it's an interesting battle. They're trading punches really at the moment. They're not quite battling on the circuit, but that's all alright, because they're keeping it nice and close, and they're keeping the nerves up for everyone, I presume. And yeah, it's going to be a nervy time for everyone, but I'm just worried about when their other driver of forgotten his name again, but I'm just worried about this 777's third driver. It's Grungfist, Jan Grungfist, because he's not quite got the pace of the other two. That's what I'm a little bit worried about, is that how much time is he going to lose, and how much work is he going to leave for Cynic and Hemmingsen to do when they both get back in the car. That's my only concern. I hope that Grungfist is going to do a little bit better in the night than he did earlier on, because he did seem to lose quite a bit of time.
Yeah, interestingly, I saw in the chat team manager Jerry Vrodick, he was saying Bojan Bogdanov might get in that car, but he isn't on the list that I've been given for being in that car, but maybe he is, and the list is just slightly wrong. So maybe we'll see a fourth driver get into that car after Henry. We will have to see. But yeah, you're correct. Grungfist was slightly slower. And we did have to say that he was in the car when Pedersen was in the car, and Pedersen seems to be the quickest out of the whole field. So we'll give him a little break on that. But yeah, for sure. I am sure Grungfist will get in the car at some point. It just depends how many hours they are going to give him. And I've just noticed who is that? Who is in the car now? Giuseppe Tufoco got a penalty somewhere, so I think he has got a cut penalty for going over the track somewhere. So he's going to have either a drive-through or a stop-go penalty, which is not ideal around here, but yeah, I believe that was a cut penalty that he got, and he will have to serve. They are now down into 5th place and have been lapped, so really not going too well for Misto.
Yeah, they are catching 4th place, though. It has to be said that Lappins is being caught. I believe that I really thought we were going to see a battle between those two, but indeed we've seen that Difoco had that penalty, so he's now down to 50 seconds adrift, and that is a pretty big margin to be clawing back. But we've still got 13.5 hours to go, so it's perfectly possible that could be reeled in, and we'll see if it is indeed. But the closest battle, the closest margin on the circuit right now is still between Mrozek and Cynic. I'm just thinking Cynic is not quite showing the pace that he had earlier on in the race. He was well down. It was one of the fastest drivers in the field when he was driving earlier on, but he's not seemingly quite as good right now. He's normally in the 10s. I was expecting him to be in the 8s, maybe the 7s. Maybe not quite the pace of Hemmingsen down in the 5s, but still an 8 or a 7 I was expecting from the leader Cynic there. So he's not quite producing that at the moment, and if he needs to make up time for Grungfist to fall back, he's not really doing it right now.
Yeah, that is interesting. It certainly is that these guys are not quite at the same speed that we expected, but that was a major battle though between Hemmingsen and Simic, so you can see why they were pushing so hard, whereas right now they might not be in that mindset for just pushing like madmen, but maybe that will improve. The lap times would improve as we get further down into the night here, as they really started to settle down into those stints. And as we mentioned, we believe they're going to be coming into the pits potentially at the end of this lap. So that will be the next point of focus to see if maybe a pit stop will reset them and their lap times will start improving.
Yeah, let's well, hope so for them, for their sakes. But yeah, I'm just a little bit concerned about those cynic lap times. So we'll find out if they're actually representative or what's going on there. But yeah, these guys definitely will be making a pit stop in the next few moments, and by that I mean in this lap we're expecting. So yeah, we're still 13 and a half hours to go, 13 and 25 almost, and yeah, it's looking to be an interesting race still. It's the battle is still going on, but Cynic is being reeled in a little bit now. 13 seconds, even in the moment where I've come back, I've been here for 10 minutes, maybe even less, but it's come down by 2 seconds already, 2.5, so maybe Cynic really is struggling right now.
He did a 4-hour stint earlier, so I'd be surprised if he's genuinely struggling, because I would hope he got a nice bit of rest during his time off when his teammates were in the car. But yeah, maybe he is just struggling a little bit with something that we don't know about, or maybe this is just the pace that he's got. But again, we'll see after he's made the pit stop whether that continues, or whether he's able to find any more speed, or any more, I guess, being more comfortable in the car after having been out of it for a few hours. That is also something that could be involved as well.
Yeah, don't forget that last time we saw Cynic, it was in the broad daylight, so he's in the night time now, so maybe that is why he's a little bit slower than he was before, maybe not accustomed to these conditions quite as much, but yeah, this is 5th hour of driving he's about to come and complete now as he comes onto the Dottinger Ho for the 76th time of asking. Not even halfway yet. Don't forget to get this lap record we're banging on about. We need to have done 80 laps by the 12-hour mark, and it looks like we're going to easily do that at this rate, because we've still got quite a while to go until the halfway mark in this race, and we are approaching 80 laps quite rapidly, so it's looking good for that. And yeah, let's hope that we can do that, because it would be a pretty cool record to break. I'm not expecting any rain, so I reckon it's well and truly on the cards, to be honest.
I think it would be, and I mean, I should have a quick look up to see if this is the case, but I don't think that in real life the GT3s actually got into the 7 minutes in qualifying. I might be mistaken on that, but I don't recall that, which means maybe these cars are slightly quicker, but for sure they're having a pretty clean run, especially the guys at the front of the field. So that is one reason why we're getting so far up the grid, up the timings, and getting all those laps in as we are seeing the guys come into the pits now, I believe.
Yeah, we are. So the two leaders are in. I'm just looking that up for you about the qualifying times for last year. I'm going to presume it's it's only showing me the race results. That's a nightmare, isn't it? So I'll try and hunt that information down. But I think a lap in under the 8-minute mark would be pretty remarkable, to be honest. So I'd be surprised. And I think we'd know probably if someone had actually broken that margin. So I'm going to say possibly not for now.
Yeah, that 7-minute barrier it's always one of those things. It's like on the tourist track, people always want to get under 10 minutes. It's like one of those things. There's always a nice round number that everyone wants to get to. Like at Le Mans, the distance record is 397, which is why the developer of R-Factor 2 is called Studio 397. So it'll be a bit awkward if that record's ever broken. But for instance, that 400 barrier is something that Toyota have hinted that they wanted to get at, but that is quite some pace, and it's just the same here. Getting under that 8-minute barrier is always something that people want to try and do.
Yeah, I have hunted down the pole time from the Nürburgring 24 Hours in 2019. I don't know if this is the all-time record, but I found 2019 at least. Don't forget that these guys in the to get pole, you have to do it's a one-shot qualifying basically. In the top 30 shootout, it's basically one go at it, and that's it. So I guess it's a little bit harder. But the lap time, it was Maro Engel in a Mercedes at 8 minutes 10.9. So we're way below that.
Yeah, one shot qualifying, I guess, is a bit different to the 2 hours 45 minutes open session that we had. So that is probably an additional reason as to why it's so quick. Also, just in general, the grip would be quite a lot on here because of the way the real road works in R-Factor 2. But it's good to see that these guys are pushing hard, and especially at the front, they've had minimal issues so far, at least from the leader as such, because Burst did have that issue which made them lose the lead, but Drillers were not far behind them at that time. Yeah, no they weren't, and lead gap currently just dipping below 13 seconds. It's hovering, but we're not quite seeing, excuse me, it's not quite seeing the battle right now. Just looking to any other gaps trying to close, but my computer's having a cry. It's probably been on for too long, to be honest, but it's just under 13 seconds. It's quite an interesting part of the race, really. I'm just waiting to see how long Cynic is going to go on this stint, because it's going to be 6 hours of driving out of 12 at the end of this stint, or just under 12, so he's going to have done a lot of driving, and he surely can't keep that up. Surely he's not going to do 12 of the 24 hours. That just seems a little bit too much to me. A couple of years ago, I did a 24 hours of Le Mans, and my teammate did 14 hours, I think, on that.
He really didn't have much confidence in the rest of you, did he?
Well, the issue is we kept crashing. Yeah, we finished quite a few laps down. Yes, and my wonderful teammate had to do that, which is not great for him. But yeah, I mean, even in the Spa 24 hours a couple of years ago, Raffaele Marcello did 14 hours for his car to get on the podium on that day. So yeah, it's certainly doable. It's just whether you'd want to do that or whether it's smart to do that. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's quite impressive, especially at Spa, because we've got some quite tight driving time rules at the Spa 24 hours these days, because it's quite a mix. It's a strange, sometimes, mix between gentlemen and pro drivers, so they kind of have a blanket rule for everyone, and I think they've still got the rule that no singular stint exceeds 65 minutes. You got to pit every 65 minutes no matter what, so that's not a rule I'm a particular fan of myself. I like, especially when you've run under the safety car, you basically still got all your fuel left and you still have to pit in. But anyway, that's Spa, and this is Nürburgring. Thankfully there's not quite so tight driving rules around here, although unfortunately I think that it's only just been recently introduced for the SB9s in real life that they actually have a transponder now, so we often didn't know who was driving at the time of things happening until afterwards at Nürburgring, but thankfully that's a thing now. That's another thing we don't have to worry about in sim racing though. We always know who's driving the car. Well, we often know, unless things really bug out, but we pretty much always know who's driving the car, and that is useful to know, especially when we're talking about it. It makes the whole thing seem a bit more rounded as well, so yeah, it's a good thing we have going on in R-Factor 2 at the moment. I hope you're all enjoying it at home. I know it's getting a bit late in Europe now, approaching 1 AM in Central European time, and if you're in the UK, you're still in the past, so like me and Cam. So yeah, but yeah, there you go. We are going to be live with you. We're going to be commentating on the whole of this race. We're going to have the stream up and running for the whole thing. We've still got 13 and a bit hours to go, and yeah, we're barely getting started here, not even halfway yet.
And that's probably a good time to thank the various people behind the scenes that you probably don't always see, but John, Nick and Peter all helping this, and obviously there's other people involved as well. So yeah, it's good to see they're all staying up throughout the night to try and make the best race possible for these drivers and also you viewers at home. So yeah, thanks for them, and we will stay here talking to you as long as possible, keep you up to date with all the information that is going on. And something that I've noticed recently is David Mocek last lap was over 2 seconds quicker than Henry Cynic.
Yeah, I've only seen 2 temps, but maybe that's just me. I could be wrong, but he's definitely. I definitely agree that he's closing. It's 12 seconds now, and it was 15 when I came on 15 minutes ago. So it is closing, and yeah, Mocek is. I don't know if Mocek's found his feet a little bit here, because that's what happened to Simoncic, where he did manage to really kind of find his feet and was a little bit quicker towards the end of his stint than he was at the start, and. Maybe the same thing's happened to Mocek, or maybe Cynic is just kind of falling off the cliff here, and he's just kind of too tired to continue, or just losing his pace because he's so tired. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but the league gap is definitely coming down.
It sure is, and this could be also David Mocek finally getting his feet wet with the car, and he's probably starting to feel a little bit better in that BMW. For Burst Esports, and they will be making a pit stop, we have to remember as well, so that is going to be something to consider with how they then approach the next stint.
Indeed, I believe that the gap for 6th position, Hansen is kind of reeling in Agaveri there. Agaveri for 6th position, but that's 49 seconds still, and those guys who are, you know, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th are all going to be in at the end of this lap when they do make it around. Of course, they've got a little way to go yet. Cliff van der Vin is going to be the first of those, and he's still got about 6 minutes until he's making his pit stop, so we've got a little time to wait for that, but I reckon the 888 is going to be close to that number 1, 2, 3, because we saw a battle earlier, about an hour ago, but we saw, I think, a bit of an incident for the 888, and they dropped way back, so now they're coming back again, and it definitely looks like they've got the pace over that Hungarian number 1, 2, 3 team, but they don't look like they can stop crashing and use it.
Yeah, crashing is not favourable if you can avoid it, and hopefully they can not have any of that. But obviously, sometimes unavoidable, as we saw from a couple of guys. There's a couple of guys already in this stint and in this race.
Yeah, indeed. So we're just continuing on at the moment. 13 hours, 13 minutes, and in a minute it's going to be 13 seconds as well, which is kind of fitting. That's the kind of thing I look for when I'm watching that timer go down. When it's getting a bit boring, I just watch the timer because I'm a bit weird, but. Making patterns with the numbers, but yeah, that's just me. Anyway, that's because we've entered one of those quiet phases. Although me and you were on a bit of a quiet phase. I believe it was maybe hour 5. The first 4 hours were absolutely carnage. Well, not carnage, but it was battles all over the place. And then finally it settled down. I believe it was hour 5, and we didn't have many battles to talk about. And then Ossian comes on, and then. Everything just explodes, and we saw the most amazing league battle where we just had 1 hour and 15 of uninterrupted coverage, and it was literally uninterrupted battling for the whole time.
That is generally what you want to see, especially around the Nordschleife, because it is so important to keep it on the track, which means pushing is even more difficult than at other tracks, and to have those guys battling for so long, it's just absolutely crazy. And it's a bit of a shame that I missed out commentating on that, but I will go back and watch it later when I get a chance, because that is something to behold. Watching some SP9s go at full tilt around this track, it is quite amazing, and these night stints are so good. You saw a couple of track shots on the stream as well, which looks really good. This track has been done pretty well by Studio 397, and also I quite like a lot of the headlights now. There's been a bit of a graphical update, and I think the headlights have got some improvements to their sort of the way the glare works and stuff like that. It's looking really good here on our Factor 2.
Yeah, it is. So this is probably one of the most up-to-date, if not one of, probably the most up-to-date versions of Nürburgring you can get. And obviously, you don't have to be a genius to work out how difficult this would be, what a monumental task it would be to kind of scan all this and kind of get it all together in the right way, and they have done it very well. So yeah, it's a testament to those guys right now that we're having this race and having such a high quality race, because it is very exciting. I believe we've actually got a bit of a battle that's closing up a little bit. ProSim are closing in on Lorenzo Di Cutis, yeah, so 10th position and 8.5 seconds separates the two drivers. So yeah, that might be an interesting battle to watch in just a moment.
Yeah, plenty of battles that will still be coming very shortly your way, which is how it unfolds here around the Nürburgring. ProSim got given a stop-go penalty apparently, which is not good, because stop-go is quite a long time you'll be sat there, and that will drop them down even further from where they are. Unfortunately, they're not having the absolute best race in the world. They are a lap down and in 11th place, and quite a way off, well, not off the car directly ahead of them, but ahead of that is in another lap, so quite a way down from the main bulk of cars. Hopefully they can have a bit of a better second half of the race as we do get towards that halfway stage in just over an hour's time.
Yeah, so it's just over an hour now, isn't it? Yeah, 13 hours still remaining. I hope that we will get to see that battle between ProSim and the number 90, but we're probably not, because it's the ProSim car's going to have to stop and hold for a moment. In a minute. So are they going to do it now? No, they're not. So they're going to continue on for a lap. So we may get to see them come into contact with each other, but hopefully not literally. But we might see the battle before the stop and hold has to be served. So we'll wait and see if that is the case. But yeah, it's a lowly position for those guys at the moment, 10th place, and you wouldn't expect them to be able to do much in this race so far. But they are still going, and it's a plucky performance from those guys down the order, particularly Guard Racing, actually, who've had so many issues in this race. They're 13th, they're behind the SB7 runner, but they're still going, and they haven't given up yet.
Yeah, no reason on giving up. So much stuff can happen. We've seen it changes in an instant. Might as well keep on going, see what happens, see what comes your way. And if you put in some good laps, you might just get rewarded, as the green hell always bites someone's behind. As yeah, you got to keep it on the track, but it's often that people make mistakes, unfortunately, and you often get free positions if you just keep on going and try and set the best laps that you can.
Yeah, indeed, and that's the beauty of it. That's the name of the game, really, isn't it? So yeah, it's an interesting watch, of course. That's why we're still all here in the first place. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, really. I believe we are seeing some pit stops for the more front runners, and we are. Cliff van der Vin is into the pit lane. Ernest Lappins is going to do the same, but those guys are quite far apart now. I thought that Lappins had a third pretty much consolidated earlier on in the race, but he's really fallen away, and now he's struggling to get on terms with him. He's actually starting to look behind him, because the Musto car has really got their act into gear with Brioni and now Di Fuoco. They've started to catch them, and now Lappins might be looking in his rearview mirror before long.
Unfortunately, that gap there's quite a way, so we'll be got a few more laps and stints before they get that. But you're correct, gap has come down a bit. I do expect them to be battling later on in sorry, excuse me, later on in the race, but yeah, well, yeah, they just caught another second actually, so it is coming down, and they need to wait a few more laps before they might be able to get a bit of battling going between them.
Yeah, and hopefully we do indeed see that, but it's with the current gap, obviously that's not going to happen, so we're going to have to wait a little bit to see that. But in fact, Van der Vin has managed to get out before Lappins has managed to get in, I believe. So yeah, that is an interesting one, unless Lappins has carried on, which would be a 8-lap stint, so that surely can't be right. And Lappins is actually... I really hope he hasn't miscalculated this, because I believe that this is his 8th lap, which is... I didn't think it was possible, but he seems to have carried on.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He did pit 4 laps ago, though.
Oh, right.
As like it was a slow time, so he would have been in the pit lane. I'll have a quick look back on the pit.
Meanwhile, sorry to cut across you, ProSim have had a big spin out there on the course somewhere. They were closing in massively on that Lorenzo de Catuccis. The gap is still 7 seconds, but they've just had a huge spin, and I've no idea how they didn't hit anything at Metzgersveld. That's what that was called, apparently. The fast left-hander there, and just looped it. Didn't hit anything, of course, and they've carried on, but yeah, that's a remarkable recovery, really. Well, maybe I was away when Lappins last came in, but yeah, that would have been a short stint then. If he has indeed come in 4 laps ago, then that would have been a very short stint.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out why, but I can't see anything. But this is his 8th lap since his scheduled pit stop, but there was an unscheduled pit stop a few laps ago. The lap that he came in on was lap 74. End of lap 74 he came in, so 4 laps ago now. And yeah, I do wonder if that's for maybe a penalty or something, but he obviously took some more fuel, because otherwise he isn't going to be able to complete this lap.
Yeah, well,
what we know of the cars so far.
I hope so. Otherwise, they really have miscalculated this. Well, it can't have been a penalty, can it? Because you can't do any service where you take a stop go. So I don't think that can be the case. But yeah, we're puzzled, really. Got no answers for that one, I'm afraid. We might have to talk to someone down there at AFP and see what information we can get our hands on, and then maybe bring that to you if we can find out. But anyway, we've completed another hour of racing. We've come over midnight now in the UK, 1 AM in Central Europe, and there's just over 13 hours to go in this fascinating Nürburgring 24 hours. Don't go anywhere. The strategy to play out is still all in front of us, so make sure you don't miss it after this.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. Their 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40 by 40mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80 by 40mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160 by 40mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Communication. It started out as a conversation between two people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
Welcome back to the Nürburgring 24 hours for GTR24H. We've now done 11 hours of this race, so we're entering the 12th hour, and at the end of this one, we will then be halfway through the race, which sounds pretty crazy because the first 12 hours, or the first 11 hours, I should say, has actually gone pretty quickly so far. There's been battles in pretty much every hour, and the strategic calls are still there, and we still don't know what is really going to happen with these drivers. Just to run you through what is happening at the front, we've got Henry Sinek in the 777 regen drillers car, and they are leading the way by 11 seconds to David Mochek for Burst Esport. And David dropped off a little bit after the pit stop, but he's now stabilizing that gap at the front of the field, and then there's quite a big gap back to the final podium position of Cliff van der Ven, but he's got Ernest Lappins not far behind him, so we're going to have a battle for third position pretty soon. Then in your SP7 Porsche Cup class, we've then got Norbert Leitner out there for HM Engineering, and they are leading the way as unfortunately their rival crash